Twilight Sparkle was on a date with her boyfriend, Mordecai.
So you're ready to go?
He asks.
Yeah.
She says,
I mean, I guess we could stay here and play video games all day.
You're not going to be able to do that.
he complains.
We have to get out of this town. We'll never make it in time for the concert.
I think you're forgetting that we can teleport.
Says Twilight.
Yeah, but only short distances.
Says Ginny Wakeman.
We need to get at least another 10 over.
Maybe we should just teleport to the concert hall and avoid all this hassle.
Says Angel Dust.
Great idea, Genius.
Says Ginny.
Let's do that. All right then.
Yeah.
Says Spike.
Let's go to the concert!
Everyone seems to have forgotten that they need to get out of this town. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're too selfish. In any case, the group starts to teleport, but something goes wrong.
What the fuck? My head!
Yells Spike.
I just felt my neck and fucking broke.
Says Mike.
We need a hospital.
Cries Twilight. The first thing they notice upon appearing is how vastly different this city is. It's northeastern from the town they just teleported from. It also looks to be much older as well. The streets are much narrower and many of them are cracked. The buildings themselves are made of stone rather than brick. There's no trace of the music park anywhere.
Where the fuck are we?
Asks Spike.
I dunno. We must have teleported into someone else's territory.
Says Twilight. The next thing they notice is how cold it is. This isn't just a colder version of the city they just left, this is actual cold. It's winter in this city and it's getting dark, which means there's no illumination except for the moon and the stars.
Oh dear God! Is this a shadow?
Says Spike.
I feel awful!
No, that's just the cold.
Says Mike.
I don't think there's any shadows around.
Let's just find a fucking hotel and get some sleep.
Angel Dust suggests.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Agrees Spike. The group decides to find a hotel and just crash on the first floor for the night. As they're all exhausted, Mordecai heads towards a nearby building.
I'll be right back.
He says.
I just have to go across the street and get some booze.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yells Angel Dust.
You're going to get drunk in the middle of the fucking night in between a shadow city and a cold winter's night.
I'm not planning on getting drunk.
He says.
I just need to get some bottles. I'll be right back.
Being the gentleman he is, Spike volunteers to go with him and go get the booze.
I'll go with you.
Says Mike.
It's too much of a risk for that little dick of yours.
Fuck you, Mikey.
He replies. As Mordecai, Spike, and Mike leave, Twilight approaches Angel Dust.
Yeah, you're the one who knew about this place, right? Do you live here?
Yeah, I live here.
He says.
This used to be a sort of student village a long time ago.
Twilight nods.
I see. Do you know when this city went to shit?
Dunno, before my time, I guess. Is there a reason why you were asking about us?
Yeah. We're just wandering around and looking at the architecture.
Architecture? You're not with the carpenters, are you?
Says a shadow.
What? No, we're not.
My name's Shadow.
Says the shadow.
What are you here, if not with the carpenters?
We're just some people.
Says Twilight.
You look more like some people who want to ask questions that important people.
Says Shadow.
I'd advise against it.
Do you know where we can find the owner of this place?
Asks Ginny.
We're supposed to meet someone here.
The owner left this city a long time ago.
Says Shadow.
He was a strange guy. The last time I saw him, I don't think he was even born yet.
How do you know?
Asks Ginny.
Have you met him?
I'm not talking about it.
Says Shadow.
We have to know.
Says Ginny.
We're going to leave soon. We need to know where to go.
Shadow looks around and sighs.
Fine, but I'm telling you, it's a long story.
We have time.
Says Angel Dust. Shadow looks at his hands for a moment before beginning to talk.
Do you know who Mr. Dream is?
He asks.
No. Well, Mr. Dream was the owner of this place.
We don't know any Mr. Dream.
Says Twilight.
Now, it's a long story.
Says Shadow. Shadow begins to tell them how he used to live in the city of Nightfall with his wife and 2 children. One day, Mr. Dream arrived in Nightfall and started making deals with the mayor. Shadow was a poor city mouse who was on good terms with the mayor, and so Mr. Dream hired him to make some furniture for his castle. Shadow was really happy about getting paid, but the mayor had to lay off hundreds of other workers as he cut back on costs. The mayor knew Shadow's family were hungry, so he gave him a deal. He could have work, and his family would be taken care of, as long as he dealt with the undesirables that Mr. Dream didn't want to deal with. So he became a problem solver, as the mayor put it. The citizens hated him for it, and he stopped getting work from Mr. Dream. He was too well known now. One day, he tried to deal with some thugs who had been bothering some girls at a local school. He killed them all, and the militia hunted him down. He tells them that, After his family died in a fire he caused while trying to warm his children, he eventually came to work for Mr. Cervix.
Who's Mr. Cervix?
Ginny asks.
Never heard of him.
Says Angel Dust.
I thought so.
Says Shadow.
Don't ask him any questions, because he'll just get mad and raise your rate.
Why fire you?
Asks Twilight.
He's Mr. Cervix. He doesn't fire his employees.
Oh,
Says Twi.
so that's why those two are after you.
Says Ginny.
That's some pretty terrible life you've had, Shadow.
It's okay now.
He says.
I'm with Mr. Dream now. I'm better than ever.
How?
Asks Angel Dust.
By dealing with two idiots that are too stupid to even rob a store.
Hey,
He says Shadow.
I'm not fucking stupid. I was the best thief in all of Sakani. If in all I was this,
Yeah, but your family dead and all.
Says Angel Dust.
You really think that now you're some kind of super thief.
I don't need to be a super thief,
Says Shadow.
because I'm already the best.
Whatever.
I could steal the moon from Mr. Dream if he wanted me to.
Says Shadow, staring at the group.
You know that, right? I could do that and not even break a sweat.
Says Ginny.
Really? Why didn't you tell us? We could have worked with you.
You two are together.
Asks Shadow.
Together like a married couple.
I'm dating Hurricane.
Twilight says.
Well, that would be cool.
Says Shadow.
But Mr. Dream needs someone a little younger than me.
How young?
Asks Ginny.
18 would be perfect.
Says Shadow.
I don't need anyone much younger than that.
I don't think I'd suit Mr. Dream.
Says Ginny.
Anyway, that's great. But are you currently working for him?
Says Shadow.
I'm working with Mr. Dream right now. I'm trying to rob the bank in Nightfall.
The bank?
Asks Ginny.
Why?
Why not?
Asks Shadow.
It's a bank. You rob banks, don't you? I thought you detectives did.
We don't just go around robbing banks.
Says Ginny.
That's, well, it isn't legal. Anyway,
I thought you said you were a detective.
Asks Shadow.
I am.
Says Ginny.
But just because I investigate crimes doesn't mean I'll go running to the cops if I find a crime in progress. I do some intelligence gathering before I make a scene.
Undercover work. I understand.
Just because you're friends with the criminal element doesn't mean you have to act like one.
And says Ginny.
Robbing a bank isn't going to help you in the long run.
Well, I think Mr. Dream will provide better than your average run-of-the-mill bank.
Says Shadow.
Besides, the militia is such a pain in the ass that I figure this'll be a much easier robbery.
So, why do you need us?
Asks Ginny.
I don't.
Says Shadow.
Mr. Dream can handle things himself. I just need two people to perform a social act during the robbery.
What?
Asks Ginny.
You don't think we can spare some boo and pillows and stuff for the getaway car?
No, that's not what I need you for.
Says Shadow.
I've already got a driver.
You have to pretend to be your hostages.
Says Angel Dust, staring intently at Shadow.
Why?
Asks Ginny.
Why would you need us to be your hostages?
So when the militia comes busting down your door, you will have an explanation for why two famous detectives are in your house.
Says Shadow.
Just say that we were kidnapped and you need the militia to help you rescue us.
This really isn't necessary.
Says Ginny.
We could be of more help to you in other ways.
I don't want to put you in any potential danger.
Says Shadow.
I really don't.
It's no trouble.
Says Angel Dust.
We're detectives, not ex-Hollywood hosts or something. We can handle being kidnapped.
Shadow nods.
Okay,
Shadow tosses Angel Dust a set of handcuffs.
put these on.
And he says,
You'll have to take care of our driver.
You wanted to cuff her.
Asks Ginny.
No,
Says Shadow.
he's a big boy. He can handle it if he tries to run. Just make sure he doesn't get away.
Ginny restraints Angel Dust. Says Angel Dust.
These are really uncomfortable.
You'll get used to them.
Says Shadow.
Just try not to struggle too much.
Shadow tosses a set of keys to Ginny.
Take our vehicle and go.
He says,
I'll deal with the driver.
What about me?
asks Angel Dust.
You're coming with me.
Says Shadow.
I'll release you when we get the money.
But I need to stay here.
Complains Angel Dust.
Someone needs to keep an eye on the place.
You really don't want to be released. Trust me.
Says Shadow.
Now, come on.
Shadow and Angel Dust leave in a hurry.
I guess we better follow them.
Says Ginny. Twilight follows Ginny to the crime scene, where she stays behind the police tape. She steps inside briefly before coming back out, carrying a bag of loot.
Hey, it wasn't locked.
She says,
So,
asks Ginny.
it still has the security tag on it.
Security tags can be easily removed.
Says Shadow.
That's how we're getting in and out of most banks these days. Would you rather go in the front door with a shotgun or flashlight and be caught by the alarm?
I suppose not.
Says Ginny.
Shadow, will we really get the money?
If they're anything like their dad, we will.
Says Shadow.
Although, I'm not as worried about that since I've got a hostage.
Great.
Says Ginny.
Now I guess we should go back to the hotel and figure out what to kidnap next.
Actually, I was thinking we should go to the palace.
Says Twilight.
Tell them everything.
You just want to get me arrested.
Laughs Shadow.
This is your big moment. You can tell them everything you want. I won't even be able to do anything about it.
No, it's not like you think.
Says Twilight.
I was thinking more along the lines of, we could all get arrested. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, and it would probably even help our case.
What, all of us?
Asks Ginny.
Why?
The more people who are arrested, the better.
Says Twilight.
But why would you get arrested?
Asks Shadow.
You're a pony. You don't even have to turn in your weapon or anything.
I've been following the news.
Says Twilight.
It's a new law. Any pony that is directly involved in a kidnapping will be sentenced to death.
Me.
Says Shadow.
Do what you want, I suppose.
No, you don't want to do what you want.
Says Ginny.
This is your big chance to get out of this life. You're not going to do that just by kidnapping people and getting arrested.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
Asks Shadow.
Go to jail. Stay in Ponyville and rot. I don't have that option.
Yes, you do.
Says Ginny.
You have the option to become a syndicate member.
What's so bad about being a pony?
He asks Shadow.
I thought you were a syndicate member.
I was,
Says Ginny.
but I got eliminated.
What does that mean?
Asks Shadow.
Do you want to get back in the gang?
Well, yeah,
Says Ginny.
but it's not that simple. There are a lot of other ponies there that aren't exactly the most stable.
What about that little filly you were looking after?
Asks Shadow.
She wouldn't be in the way, would she?
That's not it.
Says Ginny.
I just don't want you to get in any more trouble for me.
But it's not like I'd have to actually do anything.
Says Shadow.
I could just hang around and look intimidating and it would still be a great help to you. And I could keep my own head down. And I could eat it, but it might. It would. It to you to give in it and to give
No,
Says Ginny.
I can't risk getting you involved in any more trouble. This is on you. I don't want to put you in danger either.
What?
Says Shadow.
No,
Says Ginny. The police begin to arrive at the scene.
That's them.
Says Shadow.
let's go.
Says Ginny.
Wait,
Says Shadow.
you're just going to leave me here?
Yes,
Says Ginny.
it's either that or get beaten up and possibly killed.
I can't let you leave like this.
Says Shadow.
I don't want to see you get hurt.
Ginny turns and puts her eyes onto Shadow. He stands up straight and looks into her eyes as well. They're both on edge.
Are you really sure about this?
Asks Shadow.
Yes,
Says Ginny. Shadow looks away and breathes deep. Then he looks into Ginny's eyes again.
I'm sorry.
He says. And with that, Shadow gallops away. Ginny doesn't do anything except stand there. Soon, the two of them are out of sight.
Well,
Angel Dust says.
I'm still handcuffed.
It's not your fault!
Says the police officer.
The kid made his own choices!
With that, Twilight, Ginny, and Angel Dust are taken into custody. Mordecai, Spike, and Mike had stepped out into the strange, empty city of Nightfall to grab some booze. However, along the way, they'd gotten sidetracked.
Hey, Mordecai,
Spike says.
I think we should go back.
Yeah.
He says with a smile.
What?
Because I don't want to be here any more than you do. But if we're gonna stay in this town, we need to at least get our asses up off the ground.
What are you talking about? We're not even drunk yet.
Mordecai says.
We'll see when we get there.
Spike leads the group back to the hotel where they promptly sit back down at their table.
Okay, you're a fucking asshole.
Mike says, shaking his head.
Why the hell did you bring us here?
Safety in numbers. Nerds.
Spike says.
Now that we're not taking any more risks, I think we need to leave here.
Where are Twilight and the others?
Mordecai wondered.
Did they leave without us?
I dunno. We'll find out when we get back to the room.
While they wait for everyone to get back, Spike admits to the rest of his plans.
So, thinking we'd blow up the breach at night and just make our escape that way.
Spike says.
we'd still be able to get away.
That's fucking dangerous, Spiky.
Mike says.
So's drinking untreated alcohol and going into the sewers.
Spike shrugs.
If you get us killed, you're not getting out of this alive.
Mordecai says.
I won't.
Spike says, sticking his tongue out. Everyone finishes their drinks and proceeds to go back to their room. On the way, they pass a bum who looks up at them, only for the group to quickly pass him by. He gets up and follows behind, though.
Hey! I saw that.
Spike says.
Let's get him.
No, we need to just leave him alone.
Mike says.
He's just following us.
Spike looks back, but the bum is already out of sight.
Fine!
Spike says.
I'm getting us banned from this town anyway.
Once they get to the room, Spike confronts the group.
What the fuck are you all doing?
Spike demands.
If you're gonna be lodging here, then you have to start following the rules.
What about?
Mike starts to ask before getting interrupted.
For example, you cannot go walking around with your booze. It's not proper hotel policy.
Fuck you, we're all grown-ups.
Mordecai says.
Have you seen what we were doing before you interrupted us? We were having a nice conversation about fictional explorers.
Fine, buy your own alcohol, but you can just go walking around drunk. That's called bottle flipping, and it's not all of here.
Can we get some pot when we go to town?
Mordecai asks.
We can smoke that indoors.
That's even worse.
Spike says.
You can't be doing that while our rooms are booked under an assumed name. We're supposed to be explorers, not some group of losers. Just use an abandoned hotel as a weed and acid lab.
We're not going to be here that long.
Mike says.
You can't expect us to not do anything.
It's just for a few days.
Spike says.
We'll be out soon. I promise. Now then, we need to figure out which alcohol is the safest to buy. We can't have any of our people getting sick now, can we?
The group begins to bicker, and before long, Spike can't even get them to agree on whether or not orange juice is a color. After an hour of arguing, Spike calls the group to stop.
You are all just going to have to get along.
He sighs.
Because I don't have time to fucking deal with this. One of you needs to step up and organize the rest of you, or I'm just going to find my own alcohol.
I'll do it.
Everyone looks around to see that it's come true.
You.
Spike asks.
Why not?
The bum asks.
I'm already there here. I'm not going to get much else done.
Smart choice.
Spike says.
All right then, it's settled. You're our new leader.
What?
The bum exclaims.
I'm not a fucking leader. I'm just a bum.
You are also a genuine homeless man.
Spike says.
Now then, you're going to go get us all groceries and a few other things we need. I'll organize the group while you're gone.
I have no idea how to do that.
You were a leader on the streets.
Spike says.
You knew how to organize people so that they do what you wanted.
I had a gang of fucking idiots.
Well, you have a dozen idiots now.
Spike says.
Just use some of your old tricks. It's not that hard.
The bum thinks for a second and then nods.
I'll see what I can do.
The bum says.
No, bad if you'll excuse me. I have to go find me a nice quiet spot to sit so I can think.
Of course.
Spike says.
I'll see you in a few days. Leader.
The bum nods and leaves the room. Spike sighs and looks around at the group.
Well then, let's not fuck this up for him.
He says. The group disperses to go do its own thing, leaving Spike alone. He considers just going off and getting drunk, but then he decides that he should probably organize the alcohol better if the bum is going to be purchasing it. So he goes to go get the rest of the group. The next few days are relatively calm. Spike mostly just bothers the bum to see if he's organized the group yet. The bum tells him that his friends have been arrested.
Shit. Really?
Spike asks.
How the hell did they do that?
They didn't do it themselves.
The bum says.
Shadow got them into it. He's like that.
Is that so?
Spike asks.
Well, I guess you better get going then.
I have to sit here and wait for you. Can't you just get them?
They're in fucking prison. Then
Spike says.
I don't just go walking into it and start picking people up. If you want to get out of here so bad we can go do it, I currently not without a fight.
The bum thinks for a moment.
Fuck it.
He says.
I'll go get some food and then begin the journey to escape. I can't just sit here and wait to get arrested.
All right.
Spike says.
Just let me know when you're going. We can go from there.
The bum heads to the door, but before he leaves, Spike stops him.
Hey! Do you have anything that could get me in there? Like, when they arrest you? Do they just slam your hands into cuffs or something?
Spike asks.
No, they just put you in cells.
The bum says.
I doubt if that would work for you anyway.
Damn!
Spike says.
Well, see you later then. And thanks.
Thanks for what?
For not killing me and eating me, among other things.
Of course, dude.
The bum says and leaves. Spike exhales and sits back down. A few minutes later, the bum comes back in, carrying a small knapsack.
Alright, then I'm off.
He says.
Hang on a second, let's go get some cuffs.
Spike says. The bum looks at him, confused.
What for?
The bum asks.
You don't think you can just pick me up and throw me in a cell by yourself, do you?
No,
Spike says.
I meant to throw you in there with the handcuffs so I can cuff you to the fucking cell bars.
Ow!
The bum says.
You've got those here, but they're kind of rare and hard to get. I don't have many on man to give real hassle to get more.
Fine.
Spike puts the knapsack down and goes over to a corner of the room. He comes back with a pair of handcuffs, which he puts into the bum's hand.
Here.
He says.
These instead.
Thanks.
The bum says.
I guess this is goodbye, Spiky.
Not likely.
Spike says.
See you bastard.
You see you!
The bum says as he heads out the door. Spike stares after him for a second before walking back to the center of the room.
Well, that went about as well as could be expected.
He says to himself.
I guess I better get started on this on my own.
Spike spends the next few days sleeping and eating, only waking up to eat when the bum comes in to feed him. He spends most of his time in his dream world, thinking about his future. He doesn't really have one. He's done pretty much all he ever wanted to do. He's rich, seen the world, got everything he could want. What more could a guy want? Sure, he could still try to achieve more, but for now, he's lived a good life. If he's honest with himself, he's been a little bored lately. Not in his regular life, of course. There's always something exciting to do, but his regular life has been lacking something. A challenge, perhaps? He could start a war with the Cancor Union. It'd be an adventure, something different. He could also leave this place, go someplace new. The world is out there, just waiting to be seen. He could start a new life. He's probably a lot more skilled now than the average citizen of New Dessel, and he could use those skills to make a better life for himself somewhere else. He glances at his treasure trove. Sure, it's mostly worthless now. He could start all over again, though. Still, he needs to do something, because sitting around doing nothing is starting to bore him. He could go for a last bit of adventure, though. There's still so much he's never done. The bum has said before that there's a monastery of some sort up in the mountains. He's never been there, so that might be a good place to start his next adventure. He spends the rest of his day and night thinking on his future plans. But first, he has to free his friends from prison. The next day, Spike packs up his few belongings. He keeps his knapsack for this purpose, and heads to the front desk of the jail. He manages to catch the attention of a guard who comes over.
Oh yeah.
The guard asks,
I'm looking for the person who arrested my friends.
What?
You know who I'm talking about. I'm here to free them.
The guard thinks for a second.
We haven't released any. If you know what happened to your friends, I suggest you go to the captain of this station.
Thanks.
Spike says as he walks away. The guard, however, decides to follow Spike.
Well, you did. It's been a long time, but it's good to see you again.
Is there a problem?
Spike asks.
Not at all. It's Jaws. You seem a little familiar. You go by a different name now.
Spike pauses for a second.
Yeah, I do.
When Spike arrives at the captain's office, it is empty. He takes a seat and waits patiently. Soon, the captain enters his office.
You look like him.
Do I?
Yes, you're him. The guy who took the fall for a crime you didn't commit.
You know who I am.
Spike asks in surprise. He remembers this guy.
No, you are. We get a lot of justice here. Generals come see us. Your fame travels even here.
In what way?
We know you're the guy that bagged Flock. The guy that took out Black Fang. The guy that saved the city from the wolves.
Well, now I'm here to free my friends that you've locked up.
Oh, you're a friend of Shadow's. We should have known. How come you never told us you had friends we might have released before now?
Spike gets angry.
Will you stop with the fucking mystery tour? I came here to save my friends. Not waste my time talking to a fucking idiot.
The captain calms down.
All right. Sorry. You're right, friend mine. Just surprised is all.
Good.
Spike says as he gets up to leave.
But one thing, you're Shadow the Hedgehog's friend.
Spike turns to him.
Yes.
Good. We'll make sure to get his friends out as well.
The captain takes Spike to the holding cells. To his surprise, Mordecai and Mike are there talking to the others.
There you are, Spiky. We're getting out of here.
Wait, what? You're saying you will get us out of here?
Jenny asks.
Yeah. Don't ask questions. Just glad to see you too.
The captain comes back and says that all of them are free to go.
What about that guy?
Spike asks, nodding to the flunky still sitting in a chair.
That's someone to take care of that.
The captain says, walking away.
What the hell did you do that for?
Spike asks in disbelief.
I did what I had to know. All of you.
The friends are stunned. Spike realizes the captain's trying to save his own ass by making them all disappear, but it hardly matters now. He thanks the captain anyway and the group leaves.
Well, that was a bit surprising.
Mike says.
You'll never believe what I saw.
Angel says.
You won't believe where I went.
Ginny says. Their babbling continues, but Spike has to ask.
So, how do you want to handle this?
What do you mean?
Our names are going to be clear thanks to that captain, but now everyone's going to be expecting us to return the favor. How do you want to handle that?
Mordecai looks at Spike.
What the hell? You think we are lots? We need to return the favor?
I see your point. Do we know who to ask for?
Mordecai looks at his fellow E supervillains.
Hey guys,
They look over.
do any of you with that shadow got a favor?
They all shake their heads. Eventually one does.
Yeah? I guess I do. Stupid huh?
Ginny says, walking over.
Stupid as if you want to know the truth.
Spike mutters. Ginny hands Shadow a small notebook. It contains the number of the person she owes the favor to.
Thanks, kid. See ya.
Shadow nods and leaves. Spike shakes his head.
What the hell's that all about?
Dunno, but let's get home.
The bum returned to his regular place in the abandoned hotel. He had done all he could to help Spike and his friends. The rest would be up to them. A few minutes passed, and the chief and his 2 thugs entered the hotel. They looked around, but saw no one.
I thought I heard something.
The chief said.
Probably just a rat.
The thugs left after saying this. The chief walked up to the bum.
Hey,
He said roughly.
you're going to help us, aren't you?
Yes.
The bum said.
Good.
He said, and left.
Great. Though I'm apparently asleep,
The bum thought.
I guess I better earn my keep.
The bum scuttled off to find the items the 3 desired. The next day, the rest of the main 6 arrived at the hotel where they would begin searching for the elements of power,
So, what's the plan?
Applejack said impatiently.
We divide and conquer.
Pinkie Pie chimed.
Each of us goes on our own search a particular part of the whole.
We also have to be careful.
Rarity added.
The magic might be subtle, but I don't think we want to step too far out of line if we find it.
I'll take the basement.
Pinkie said.
It has to be there. It goes deep underground after all.
All right then.
Rarity said.
I'll start in the high floor of this section and work my way down.
I'll search this section.
Applejack said.
You can't.
Pinkie Pie cried.
It would be perfect if you search with me. We cover more ground that way.
Sorry, I'm going to have to decline.
How come?
Because I don't want to cover more ground than I have to.
What?
Well, it's great you want to go off on your own, but when I found the elements of power, we're going to have to part ways.
No, we aren't.
Yes, we are.
Why would we need to part ways when we find it?
It's complicated.
Can you at least explain it to me?
All right, but just because I agree, don't think I have forgiven you. I won't ask again.
Applejack grumbled.
As you probably know, there are 6 elements of harmony, courage, kindness, honesty, flutter, loyalty, and wisdom.
I do know that much.
The farm pony said.
Each pony needs one element to have in their heart to be complete.
Fluttershy said.
I have 4.
Pinkie Pie said with a frown.
You need all of them.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Applejack agreed.
Now you know you don't have them all, but you could still get them.
Get them how?
By doing the things that those other elements get you to do, like being nice to animals for kindness, being clever for honesty, and so on.
Sounds like a pain.
Pinkie Pie complained.
Not really.
Applejack said.
It's just being polite and helping out animals in the basement.
What would I have to do that could get me kindness?
The pink pony asked.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe you could feed the animals down in the basement.
You want me to wipe out the towel it was sitting on?
Yes, or maybe clean some of the cages.
You want me to clean them? Pinky! What? I'm just asking questions.
But you're not supposed to ask the questions. You're supposed to be collecting.
Oh, right?
Pinkie Pie said.
Sorry.
As I was saying, each of you must do one of these tasks to get the other elements.
Why can't we just all do it?
Because some of you need to stay here to protect the rest of us. I'm already here.
Fluttershy pointed out.
Yeah, I know, but some of us need to go out and do it.
Applejack explained.
So,
Wait, you're sending only some of us out to look for the elements?
that's what I just said.
Applejack said.
Now I have to ask you guys again. Who do you want to go?
After a moment, all the ponies looked at each other.
I want to go.
Rainbow Dash said.
Oh, really? You?
Well, yeah.
The Cyan Pegasus said.
I mean, I'm already here, and I could use a good adventure.
Rarity should go.
Fluttershy said timidly.
She's so delicate.
Yeah, I think I should go.
The fashionably dressed pony said.
Me?
Sure, why not you?
I don't know anything about looking for things.
Applejack said.
Pinkie Pie and Rainbow are better at it anyway. That's not true.
Rainbow Dash protests.
I'm an excellent lookout. You're a pony? So...
I want to go.
Pinkie Pie said. The other ponies all look at her, surprised by her outburst.
Well, I mean, you said you want to go on an adventure. Me too,
said a second voice, this time a male one. All the ponies turned their heads to see a yellow boy in a red shirt,
Me three.
said a yellow girl standing next to him.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Applejack asked.
Yeah, I did.
The boy said, picking up a small rock and tossing it at Applejack.
You don't need to be sorry. You were defending your friend there. I'm not her friend.
Pinkie Pie said.
Of course she is.
The boy said, smiling.
We all are.
Who are you?
The boy smiles.
Ask me questions, you. This me one?
Oh, sure.
Rainbow Dash said.
All right, go ahead.
The boy said.
But only one.
I'll stand for you to ask.
Fluttershy said.
Are you the only one who wants to go?
Yeah, I guess.
The boy said, sighing.
I'm 10. My name is Bart. What's yours?
I'm Applejack.
I'm sure you've heard that before. What would you like to ask me?
Why do you want to go with them?
Oh, just so they'll take me. I've been to Ponyville before, when I was little.
What's wrong with your family?
Nothing. Need to be alone for a while. How come you don't have any friends?
I have plenty of friends.
No, you don't. Nobody likes you.
They do. They just don't know it yet.
How come you're so alone?
Because I'm lonely.
Well, yeah.
Bart said, smiling.
But don't you have any other friends?
Yeah, but they don't want me.
Why not?
They're just being mean because they hate me.
That's horrible.
Bart said, a black look. He looks up at the ceiling for a second.
I feel like I know you.
How do you feel like you know me?
We're both lonely. Both have lonely hearts. Feeling blue.
Very?
I'll make you feel less blue.
How?
I'll show you. Oh, God. Don't you mean we'll show you?
The other kid said, giggling.
Shut up, Lisa.
Bart said.
How?
Applejack asks again.
Get on my back.
What?
Get on my back.
He repeated.
Trust me?
The girl, Lisa, opens her mouth as if to say something, but Bart shuts her down by looking at her angrily.
I'm trusting you.
He says.
Fine.
She sits on his back as he bends over.
Let's go.
He says, galloping off through the trees. Lisa begins to laugh maniacally.
What's so funny?
Bart asks.
Yeah, you're funny. We should be friends. Yeah, we should.
The two continue to laugh as they leave. The remaining ponies look at each other.
I guess we follow the crazy kids then.
Rarity says.
You've done this before, right?
Pinkie Pie asks.
But the ponies from Ponyville.
Rarity nods.
Come on, I'm ready.
She says.
I don't know if we should follow these two.
Fluttershy says doubtfully.
Look at them. They're barely more than children.
We can't just leave them.
Rainbow Dash says.
They're all alone. It's dangerous out there.
We're not animals.
Fluttershy says.
But they already took Applejack with them.
I guess we go get them back then.
Pinkie Pie says.
Let's go.
They trot along after the kids, keeping pace with them.
Hey, leave some space.
Lisa shouts. Racing through the trees, the kids laugh and shout as they play.
Why are you following us?
Bart screams.
It's my job.
Pinkie Pie says.
What do you want?
Lisa asks.
Pinkie wants to fight you.
Bart says to his sister.
Should we let her? Oh, please. No.
Lisa says.
We're not fighting these two. We should go find something else to do. Come on, Bart. Fine.
Pinkie says.
I just wanted to see you fight. Hey, yeah. See ya.
Bart says, ducking as Lisa swings at him.
You're not going to fight.
Lisa asks.
Not today.
Pinkie Pie says. With that, the two kids roll around in the dirt, wrestling and punching and kicking. Lisa seems to be holding her own, dodging most of his attacks.
That's a lot of hair.
She says, pulling at one of his mane.
You really are sisters. Shut up.
Bart says. He swings a punch, which she blocks. He elbows her in the face, which she knees him in the stomach. He falls to the ground and Lisa jumps on top of him, straddling him.
You two are so gross together.
She says before sticking a finger into his ear.
Oh, gross, disgusting siblings.
He says.
Bart. I'm going to tell Dad you're being mean to me.
She says.
Go ahead.
He says. Lisa sticks her tongue out at him before hopping off of him.
Can we stop now? I'm getting tired.
She says.
Yeah, let's go find some place to hide.
Pinkie says.
I want to look at all the pretty stars.
The kids seem to agree, so they keep going in a random direction. She knows she should probably go after Spike and get this over with, but something about watching these kids have fun in the middle of a kidnapping makes her not want to. The kids seem so carefree in their situation, and it makes her feel guilty. If only she were in a better position than this. Then again, if she wanted to be in a better position, she wouldn't be here now, would she?
Hey, Bert?
She asks.
Yeah. Do you know where I can get my cutie mark? What's that? It's that symbol you get when you reach level 10 in some game.
she says.
Ah, I think you have to go talk to the cutie at the end of the path in the Lost Realm. Thanks. No problem.
He says. Lisa walks along, admiring the night sky. The kids have been going in a wide path, so they won't get lost, but they'll still avoid the Syndicate camp. She sees a light ahead of her, and walks up to it. It's a campfire with 2 men around it. One is the bum that they took the bread from earlier. He's asleep, possibly hungover. The other one is a skinny man with brown hair and a green shirt. He's awake and smoking a pipe.
Hey, kid,
He says,
did you lose your way?
Oh no, I was wondering if this is the way to the Lost Realm.
It is indeed. What are you doing here? Not that I care, of course.
Oh, you know, we were on a scavenge when we ran into some trouble. We were walking back to our camp when we found this boy.
Wait, any weapons, kid?
Lisa pulls out her bat and tosses it to him. He catches it with one hand.
Thanks.
He stands and walks around her.
Who is all here?
He asks.
You got any other weapons I should know about?
Lisa pulls out her knife and gives it to him. He catches it with the same hand.
How many of you are there?
9.
She says.
We're the Lost Bandits.
He chuckles.
I like your style.
The bum starts to wake up.
Hey, who are you? We surprised you take orders from the most pathetic member of our group.
Shut up, Ender.
I'm not your fucking boss. You can't just order me about who are you.
Name's Shaggy. I'm in charge of this camp. You see that mountain over there?
Yeah.
We used to be in a monastery. Above that mountain, we had everything we needed and more right in our mountain.
Wait.
Yeah, me and my sister Sugi and our dog Scoob.
What happened?
Brother came.
Who is that?
He's the horse wolf who people say leads the syndicate.
How do you know he does?
Because his sister Ferocious told us all about him.
Flourishes.
Yeah, she's the largest mountain lion ever recorded and 1,000 times more deadly than the most vicious wolf.
You're telling me this horse wolf has a sister?
Yeah, you've heard of them, right?
Yeah, the ones who run all the gangs.
They are animals. They have no respect for anyone.
Lisa's not sure what to make of all this. She remembers that the bum was hanging around after everyone told him to scram. Lisa walks over to him and pokes him in the shoulder. He wakes up.
Hey, weakling, let's get going.
You,
We're getting eaten by Linus. Come on, let's go.
Linus.
Yeah, you know, the biggest fucking mountain lion ever seen. Her name's Ferocious.
Ah, fuck you. I'm not abandoning this spot just because you a chicken.
We're not staying here. You can sleep in my tent.
Shaggy looks up at the sky.
It's not even night yet. We'll be fine here.
We need to sleep during the day and at night, especially with this kind of company. A lion might get us.
Shaggy stands up.
I'm not sleeping in your tent.
Then you're dead.
Shaggy lights his pipe with some firewood.
I like to sleep at night.
He says. Lisa pulls out her knife.
Fine.
She says.
But if I don't return, it wasn't because of some stupid animal?
Lisa takes off into the forest. Lisa finds a nice, clear stream. She kneels next to it and starts drinking. She hears a noise and turns around. She sees Bart standing there. She gasps.
You're a girl.
She says.
I know.
He replies.
How can you drink water? I'm not. I was just checking to see if you're still alive. Of course I am. You were lying. Why are you following me? I'm not. I'm just here looking for water. You're the only one here. How can you be sure? I just did. What are you? A ghoul. We only drink blood. You're not even human.
She says, repulsed.
Where are the ponies? Gone, fair enough. After they were attacked by some ponies who had been turned. What do you mean? I'm a ghoul. We live off the flesh of the dying.
Lisa gulps.
What do you want from me? Your blood.
Lisa shakes her head.
No. Yes. No, I'm not killing you. Well, you will if I kill you.
Lisa gulps. She knows he's telling the truth. There's no way around it. He'll kill her if she tries to fight back.
So, give it up. No. Dan, I was going to offer you a deal, but it looks like you're not willing to make one.
Lisa stands up.
What deal? I was going to offer you a deal. I'm willing to leave you live if you give me your blood, but I can't stay here with my friends any longer. What's in it for me? What? Well, you'll get to live, for one. You can come with me, and we'll go find someplace safe. Like the Syndicate.
Lisa sneers.
I'm not going to work for some fucking horse wolf. No, not the Syndicate. I'm talking about a real place. We'll go someplace where there is food to be had, water to drink, and live with you.
Lisa says, sighing.
Yes. And in exchange for this deal, you'll have to be my bitch.
Lisa asks, finishing his sentence.
You know what your deal is. I'm not stupid. You won't be my bitch. You'll be my partner. What's the difference? Well, my bitch serves me and follows my orders. We're going to work together. You'll have to do the same.
Lisa thinks about it. For a second, her faces resolve. Then, it falters and she breaks. Her face crumples and she starts to cry.
I'm sorry. It's fine.
Bart says, sighing.
I get it. You're just shaken up from the trauma.
Lisa puts her head down. She's quiet for a second.
I'm sorry.
She says,
I don't know why I'm upset. I can't do this. Do what? I can't live without my family. We're family.
Bart reminds her.
You'll see them again. I know. It's just so hard.
Lisa looks up. She smiles a bit.
So we're going to go find them together.
She says,
Where to start? We don't to go too far. The emergency broadcast mentioned the police station, and they're just a few blocks away. Do you know where it is? I can get us there.
Bart says,
It's just an animal I have to feed once in a while. A lot of them in the city. He isn't even alive when I take their blood.
Lisa walks away towards the nearby alleyways. Bart follows her and they meet up with some others.
You two are so fucked up.
Shadow complains.
Can't you see this is the safest way to do this?
Just follow us.
Spike says, laughing.
If this stealth's still the way we want, you better hope there are no police around when we make our big breakout. Shadow, I thought you just got out of prison.
Lisa asks as they walk through the alley.
I did.
Ginny says,
You think you were safe? Because nobody can see us here. That there aren't cameras all over this area. You think they'll just keep our parents in the basement to question some more?
I guarantee it.
Spike says.
Come on, bitch. Time to bleed.
Lisa looks at Spike. He's smiling and seems to be enjoying the night. Lisa draws a blade from her boot.
Shouldn't we split up?
She asks.
Just you, me, and Bart go into the police station. I'm not sure if running is going to help.
Bart says.
Maybe we should just go in as a team.
I'll tell you what.
Spike says, licking his lips.
How about you go in, stab one officer to death with your shift, and then go nuts on the rest of them with our new companion here?
Bart nods, smiling. Lisa nods.
You're the leader.
Lisa says.
I'll go with Bart.
Spike smiles, licking his lips. He slowly walks forward, stopping in front of the group. He holds out a hand and Lisa places hers in it. He pulls her to her feet, and the pair of them embrace.
See you soon, darling.
Spike says.
Maybe we can pick up where we left off.
Lisa smiles before turning and punching him in the face. He falls backward before getting back up.
You two sure you want to do this?
He asks, looking at Ginny and Shadow.
You both really want to be part of this family.
We're in.
5 of the main 6 are huddled in a cave at the base of the mountains. They had been deep in the woods with Bart and Lisa when Lisa disappeared, and then they were attacked by some ponies who had been turned. They'd escaped, but now they were lost and separated from both Lisa and Bart. They had never been in any real danger before, and they're not sure how they'd handle it. They don't have any weapons, their magic is weak, and they don't even have any snacks or anything to keep themselves going. If only Twilight Sparkle were here, they thought, but nobody had seen her for weeks. They tried to stay optimistic.
Hey, guys,
Said Fluttershy.
why don't we sing us a song? It'll make everything better.
Yeah!
Pinkie Pie said.
I'll sing. I'm the best singer around.
Fluttershy nodded. She began to sing, and the others joined in.
Go sing a song. Go sing a song. Let's see the voice that one time.
Fluttershy, I think you should turn that microphone off.
Rarity whispered.
We're supposed to be hiding, remember?
All right.
Fluttershy said sheepishly, turning the microphone off. When they finished singing, they began to wait quietly in the darkness.
I can't wait for the day when the Nightmare King comes to Equestria.
Pinkie Pie said, bouncing in place.
I'll give him such a beatdown. I wish he never was.
I know, right?
Applejack said, smiling proudly.
So when's that day gonna be anyhow?
I don't know.
Pinkie said.
I think it's supposed to be really soon.
Just then, the ground began to rumble. The 5 ponies were thrown to the ground, desperately holding on to each other.
What the fucking shit?
Rainbow Dash said, getting up.
What the fuck is going on?
I don't know,
Fluttershy said, looking around.
but I sure hope you're right about the Nightmare King, Pinkie.
I'm right about everything.
Pinkie Pie said, followed by a loud rumbling.
I told you Twilight would come through. The Nightmare King's gonna wish he was never born.
If he can be born in the first place.
Rarity said.
Shut up, Rarity.
Applejack said.
I thought the Nightmare King was supposed to be immortal.
So did I.
Rarity said.
But you don't need to be immortal to have an extended lifespan. I heard the tales of the Nightmare King long before I actually saw him.
You've seen him?
Yeah.
Rarity said.
He's the one that put a curse on the Cootie Mark Crusaders. Don't you remember?
No, because I wasn't actually there when he did it.
Fluttershy said.
I was actually there the day he broke the spell. I was there when he terrorized Converted.
Another rumble.
Converted!
Rainbow Dash said, turning to Fluttershy in confusion.
To what?
Never mind.
She said, a third rumble, and a bad one at that, causing the ground to split wide open. They could feel it all the way in the cave.
Oh no.
Applejack whispered.
I think they're coming.
How the monkey don't do know that?
Rainbow Dash asked. Fluttershy didn't answer. She was just trying to hold on to her consciousness. Fully armored Nightmare Knights breached the crack in the earth, rising out of it. They surrounded the ponies in the cave, standing on top of each other.
In the name of the Nightmare King,
The biggest one said.
you're under arrest.
What?
Rainbow Dash said.
You don't have the stones.
Oh, but the Nightmare King wants you very much alive,
The knight said, grabbing Applejack by her mane.
and we're taking you to him.
You're not taking us anywhere.
Pinkie Pie said.
We're not going quietly. You take one step toward us, and we'll kick your butts.
Yeah.
Fluttershy said. The Nightmare Knight put his face into Applejack's, as if to imply that he was about to bite.
Kick his ass, Applejack.
Pinkie said.
Yeah.
Fluttershy added.
Don't just stand there with your mouths opened.
The Nightmare Knight said.
Tackle these pawnies.
This was just what they needed. If they got themselves into a fight, there was no telling how bad it could get. They had to do something, and fast.
Now's not the time for that.
They looked up to see Twilight Sparkle standing before them. Surprisingly, she was alone.
I thought you were at a concert with Mordecai.
Applejack said.
What the heck happened?
That's not important.
Twilight said.
What's important is that we stop these Nightmare Knights.
Yeah, let's do that.
Pinkie said.
I don't think it'll be that easy.
Twilight said.
These knights are heavily armored.
Well, what are you waiting for? Then,
Pinkie Pie asked.
a needle.
I have an idea.
Twilight said.
You all trust me? Yes?
Sure.
Applejack said.
Yeah, I trust you, Twilight.
Pinkie said.
No, I mean it.
Twilight said.
If I say run into the woods, you all trust me to show up again so I can start the plan?
What? Yeah, sure.
Pinkie said.
I guess so.
Applejack said.
All right then.
Twilight said.
I'll be back as soon as I can. I'll need to gather a few things.
You better hurry back.
Pinkie said.
These guys are really getting into position.
I'll do my best.
She said, turning to go.
Hold on. Where are you going?
To gather G.
She said.
Goodbye.
As she left, Fluttershy went to speak, but Applejack held her tongue. She didn't need to say anything, though. The look on her face said it all. They didn't know Gather G was the Nightmare Knight's base. Nightmare Knights. There were so many of them, and they were bigger than any of them. Fluttershy couldn't help but be reminded of those horror movies where a single monster could scare the hell out of everyone else, but the monster child was the one who really got everyone's attention. She ran, she hid, she did what she could to avoid getting caught, but the Nightmare Knights were already finding her.
There you are, animal.
One of the knights said. Fluttershy screamed as he picked her up and carried her off. She wouldn't let herself cry, though. She couldn't. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. She was strong enough to not only get out of this, she had to stay strong. She was placed in a cell. She could barely move. Her limbs were so stiff from fear. She laid on the floor, curling up as she tried not to think about what would come next. That was when Twilight found her.
Flutters, when did you get to Gather G?
She asked.
Why didn't you send me a message or something?
I tried, but the Nightmare Knights, they stopped me.
Who the heck are the Nightmare Knights?
You don't know.
I've only just heard of them. I thought everyone knew.
They're after you, aren't they?
Yeah? But why do you ask?
Well, they must have found this note I left for you. They're after you, but I'm guessing you have a plan to get past them.
Yeah? I do.
Twilight said.
As soon as I get ready, we'll be leaving.
Wait, are you going to fight them?
Fluttershy asked.
Fight who?
The Nightmare Knights.
All of them. Yeah? I'll just sneak past them and get to the king, see ya.
And with that, she left. She didn't even wait for Fluttershy to reply. Fluttershy didn't know what to do. She wanted to go with her, but that would be suicide. She didn't have the means to fight off hundreds of Nightmare Knights. She just wanted to go home. There was no hope, was there? She lay on the ground, feeling very tired. Maybe she was going to die here. She wanted to, but she didn't really want to leave her home either. Even now, compared to her previous life, her new one was much better. She'd made friends, true friends, not the fake friends she used to have. They were able to help her through this. They cared for her. Her eyelids grew incredibly heavy. She wondered if she'd be able to sleep, or if the Nightmare Knights would get to her first. In the middle of Fluttershy's sleepy idiom, and the sounds of the Nightmare Knights running and screaming, there was a loud rumbling noise. It grew louder and louder until it was right by her head. She looked up, fearing the worst, but instead she saw a dark, shadowy figure by the light of the moon.
Who's there?
She asked.
Your Risker.
Riskor.
An ogre came into view. He was big and green, a warrior, just like her father.
I've come for you, little one.
The ogre said.
My clan and I've taken an oath to rescue every damsel in distress.
What?
What are you doing here?
I heard the nightmare knights fighting in the woods. I came to see what was happening. I said,
How many are there of you?
She asked.
Are there other ogres near here?
I'm the only one, but we take ours seriously. We'll be coming with our horses to help you reach the king.
Thank you, sir.
She said.
Thank you for coming to get me.
No doubt all. Thank you for the thank you too. We'll just be interested. We'll take you. We'll take you with us. And once we get you to the king, can have whatever you want in exchange for your freedom.
At first she was confused by his words, but she understood. Once they reached the king, she would be able to get back home. She didn't know how, but she would be able to do it. He held out his hand to help her up. She took it, and he pulled her up.
Come on, then.
The ogre said.
Wait, where are you going to take me?
She asked.
You'll see when we get there.
They walked to the forest's edge, then hopped on their horses and rode off. Fluttershy looked behind her a few times, but no sign of the Nightmare Knights. She breathed a sigh of relief, and looked ahead to see where the ogre was leading her. They rode for quite a while before they reached a little town. The ogre stopped in front of a structure. It was a tire store, and from the looks of it, it had just closed down.
What? What is this place?
Fluttershy asked.
It's a tire store. We're talking inside. Where it's...
Why are we going there?
Do you trust me, Fluttershy?
Yes?
So much that you will allow Olga to take you right to where you want to go.
Yes.
The ogre hopped off his horse and lifted Fluttershy off with a strong grip. He walked straight into the tire store with Fluttershy following closely behind.
Hello,
He said to a wallaby who was behind the counter.
I'm looking for Wary.
I think I should pay for this.
The counter wallaby said, pointing his finger to his lips.
Don't worry, you want.
The ogre walked up to the front counter where Wario was waiting for him.
Wary, we're saved.
He said.
I'm the princess.
Boy,
Wario said.
you big brute.
The ogre handed her over to Wario, who took off immediately.
Come on,
He said, running towards the exit.
through that door, and out the front.
They ran through the door and outside, where a huge crowd waited. There were so many that Fluttershy couldn't see many faces. She was grabbed by several strong hooves, and looked up to see that it was Applejack holding her.
Thanks, AJ.
Wario said.
You guys are damn heroes.
Just doing our duty, ma'am.
The ogre said.
I'm gonna give you every dollar store still as a reward.
Let's.
You'd rather I gave you something else.
The ogre said, offended.
No, sir. Of course not.
Fluttershy said.
You sure you're all right, sweets?
Applejack asked.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just a little jelly leg.
Fluttershy said.
Go on home then.
And Applejack said.
You've had a lot happen to you tonight.
Fluttershy bid Applejack goodbye and headed home. Spike, Bart, Lisa, Jenny, and Shadow all stood around the empty Nightfall police station. They'd come in with their knives, but were shocked to find the building abandoned.
What the fuck, guys?
Shadow said.
It's like we're the only ones left in the world.
Where the hell is everyone?
Lisa asked, scratching her head nervously.
I'm sure they're fine. Something comes up, and they can't make it.
Shadow said.
We should split up. Try looking in different places.
Spike said.
I'll go into the basement.
I'll check the cells.
Lisa said.
I guess I'll check the shed.
Barty Boy said, walking into the house.
And I'll stick to the basement.
Spike said.
All right then.
Lisa said.
Well, I'm off.
Lisa walked away, heading to the prison cells. Spike and Shadow watched her go before turning to each other.
I guess we're alone now.
Shadow said, leaning in close to Spike.
Are you gonna stab me because I'm open-minded? I'm not going to kill you because I need you to help me escape after all.
What? No, I'm not doing anything. I mean, I am stabby, but I'm not gonna kill you. I'm not doing, but I'm not done. Go, I am, stab you, man, you be, doing,
You didn't act like it when you had your chance at fly.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Spike knelt down and grabbed Shadow's knife. He slowly got up, holding it in his teeth. He looked at the ground, up at the ceiling, around the room, before pointing into the darkness.
I think I'd better find Liz.
He muttered.
Yeah, I should go too.
Shadow said.
I'm not gonna stab you.
Spike walked into the darkness, leaving Shadow standing alone. He walked forward, feeling along the wall. He walked down the dark basement until he found an oil lamp and a set of stairs leading to a cellar. He pulled out his knife and used it to light the lamp. He continued down the stairs into the darkness. He flicked the light on and looked around.
Liz,
He asked.
Yeah,
Lisa answered.
you okay?
yeah, I'm fine, just startled, that's all. Wasn't this used to be a police station?
Yeah, but we think it was unaccountably abandoned.
We need to figure out where everyone else is.
Yeah, you okay?
Spike asked.
Yeah, how far did you have to walk?
A long way, you know where we're going.
Not exactly, but it's a lot further north than I thought we'd go. Do you know how long, guys?
Lisa asked.
I think it was for an overdose of some of those medicine you gave him.
I gave him something. I thought it was alcohol.
No, it was an overdose of something else. I think it was poison, and the way he overdosed.
Yeah, let's keep going.
More walking and talking. Eventually, they find themselves at the edge of a cliff.
This looks like it.
Spike says.
Yeah, looks like it.
All right then, let's do it.
Do what?
We jump. I mean, we could always just throw ourselves off the cliff and not really risk anything.
Yeah, I guess, but isn't that dangerous?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance we might not survive, but it'd be really painful.
I guess so.
So, you coming?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Lisa walks forward. She stops, looks down, takes a deep breath, and then turns around. She grabs Spike's hand and they begin to walk towards the edge of the cliff. They walk down until they're right next to the edge.
Are you sure this is the best idea?
Lisa asks.
The only other idea I can think of is going back, which is clearly not the ensure. We need to get away from here.
Yeah, man, if we're doing this.
Then let's jump.
Lisa steps forward, putting a foot on the very edge of the cliff.
Ready!
Spike asks.
Ready!
1, 2.
They jump. Spike grabs Lisa by the hand and pulls her off the edge of the cliff. For a moment, they feel nothing. Then, they feel the wind blowing through their hair. They look down and see that they're falling towards a large tree. They put their hands around it and soon they begin to slow down. They swing back and forth between the tree branches a few times before coming to a rest. The momentum carries them both into the snow. They roll around in it, laughing uncontrollably.
We're so high up!
Lisa laughs.
Yeah, I think we broke the fall. We're super... Hink... Weary brewers... There you go. We're all...
I think we need to find a tree with a sucker branch, in case we try this again.
Well, we're already up there. We might as well.
Spike points out. They find a tree and sit on a large branch. They look down at the ground a long way below them.
We're so high up, I can't see the ground.
Lisa says.
Yeah. Hey, we're not supposed to be up here.
No, we're supposed to be in Ponyville. Not this place.
Yep. We should go get some sleep. We've been walking a long time.
Yeah, you're right.
Are you sure you don't mind sleeping outside?
Well, we won't be the only ones, but the cold won't be an issue as much, and I've slept outside less comfortable.
Yeah, but still, I'll sleep on the inside. You can have the blanket. You know how cold it gets out here.
It's okay, not that cold. It's better out here with you anyway. I can keep an eye on you.
I'll keep you warm.
Lisa kisses Spike.
Thanks for agreeing to come out here with me. You're my best friend.
Lisa says.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
Lisa hugs Spike tightly.
You're my only love.
Lisa kisses Spike once more before laying down on the blanket.
Good night, my only love.
Spike says as Lisa falls asleep.
Sweet dreams, my only love.
Spike lies down on the blanket, pulling it over both of them. He closes his eyes and lets sleep drift over him. He didn't expect he'd feel something like this. He thought he was going to feel fear, or excitement, or maybe even happiness. But all of those feelings seemed to be muted by this newfound feeling of love. He didn't know it was possible to feel this way about someone, but here he is. He loves Lisa, and he's sure she feels the same way about him. It's a good thing, too, or else they wouldn't have gotten through this together. He'll always be there for her, and that's why he's going to look after her tonight.
Let's wake up.
Spike says, shaking Lisa awake.
What?
She asks sleepily.
We have to get up.
Okay, why?
Because we have a big day today.
Oh, yeah, I'm so tired.
Spike and Lisa stand up. They begin walking down the mountain to where Ponyville is. They walk for a while before they start feeling hungry. They find a river and wet their mouths with water. They drink as much as they can before lying down in the grass to dry.
I need food.
Spike complains.
I'm always hungry.
I could eat.
Lisa says.
I could smell food cooking.
Spike says, sniffing the air.
Do you think they had any more?
Lisa asks.
I doubt it.
Spike looks up at the sun.
It's still early.
He says.
We have time to find food or at least find some shelter.
Okay.
Well, shit. Keep going.
Right.
Lisa says. The two of them walk through the forest. Soon, they find themselves in Ponyville. It's exactly like how Spike remembers it. There's Carousel Boutique. There's the coffee shop. There's the library. He feels a pang in his heart as he sees the library.
I really don't want to be here.
I know.
Lisa says. Lisa walks into Carousel Boutique. Spike follows.
Hello.
Lisa says nervously.
Is anyone here?
Hello.
Spike and Lisa turn around. There's a donkey standing in the empty building.
Don't mind me.
The donkey says.
I'm not actually a donkey. I'm an alicorn.
You're what?
Lisa asks.
I'm a unicorn.
You're clearly a donkey.
Spike points out.
I'm a unicorn, not a donkey.
The donkey says.
Oh, right.
Lisa says.
My name's Spike. This is my girlfriend, Liz.
I'm donkey.
The donkey says.
Why are you here?
Lisa asks.
There's a Nightmare King on the loose. I need to get his fill.
How can we help?
Donkey bites into a piece of apple before spitting out a small wooden rod.
Can you make the width?
He asks.
Oh, sure.
Lisa says. Lisa quickly goes to work. She takes a block of wood, a dowel, and some string, and begins to make a toy for Donkey.
Thanks.
Donkey says happily, taking the toy. He nudges Spike with his side.
Find me a human to play with.
Donkey says.
I like humans.
Spike says.
I don't like donkeys.
Lisa adds.
I like all of them.
A voice says. They turn around to see a young girl. She has short pink hair and big, bright eyes.
I'm the daughter of the librarian.
The girl says.
My name's Stephanie. I don't like to read.
She declares.
Why don't you like to read?
Lisa asks.
Because there is a monster in the librarian that makes me hide it. What do you mean? The monster hides us. I could be to read. I can get to it. Oh, monster's name is Ropens.
What do you need help with, little lady?
Donkey asks.
I need help finding my friends.
She says.
Can you look at them?
Sure thing.
Donkey nods. Donkey begins to sniff around the room.
I can smell one.
He says. He looks towards Spike and points.
You.
He says.
Come here.
Spike walks over to Donkey.
What's your name?
Spike asks.
Donkey.
He sniffs.
Okay, you. Donkey.
Spike says.
Finders keepers and losers eat.
Donkey! Finders keepers and losers eat.
Lisa repeats.
You finders keepers.
Stephanie says, ignoring Spike.
I ate lost lunchbox.
You can't eat lost lunchbox.
Spike says.
They're for babies.
Stephanie, what do you want to do?
Lisa asks.
I want to be in charge.
She says, crossing her arms.
You can't be in charge.
Spike says.
You're not even in charge of yourself most of the time.
Do you want to be in charge?
Lisa asks.
Yes.
She says.
Okay.
Lisa says.
Spike, you're out.
Why am I out?
Spike asks.
You're not in charge.
Lisa says.
Stephanie, you're in.
I'm not in charge.
Spike asks.
How come?
Because she's better than you.
Lisa explains.
I don't understand.
Spike says.
Never mind.
Lisa says.
Donkey, take to the dungeon or wherever lost boys go.
I'm not a boy.
Spike says.
I'm a dragon.
Spike becomes more and more angry as Donkey leads him to the dungeon. He struggles against Donkey, but it's no use. Soon, Spike is gone, and it's just Stephanie and Lisa.
I think he deserves it.
Lisa says.
What? That one? Yeah, he did nothing wrong. I know, but I think he's just misunderstood. He's a dragon. Higher levels, higher monsters that destroy everything. Well, he hasn't done anything wrong.
Lisa says.
Why don't you get rid of the monsters before they destroy everything? You trust that monster?
The girl asks, insulted.
Don't you think I know he only pretends to be nice so he can get in the house to do whatever it is that answers her.
I'm not a monster.
Spike says as he's thrown into a cell.
Then let yourself hurt me.
The girl says.
Then get away from me before I hurt you.
Or herself.
Don't be absurd.
I'm not. I'm not going away.
The girl points at the stairs.
You're in down there.
She says.
Fine.
Spike says. Spike goes to the stairs. The girl says. Spike complies and sits down on the stairs. Soon, a yellow cloud comes from him. It gets thicker and less dense the further it goes. Finally, it turns into a solid piece of card that floats down. It lands in front of the girl. It reads, "Congratulations, you got me. Now, get out of my house."
All right.
Spike says.
It's me again. Thanks a lot. Listen.
The girl looks at the card again and reads it.
Why didn't you capture Nancy?
She asks.
She wasn't in the room.
Spike shrugs.
Please, can we stop doing this? It's stressful.
Fine.
The girl says, throwing the card away.
Let's stay.
As she walks out of the room, she looks behind her.
I knew you were there.
She says.
Come on, follow it.
No response.
I said come on, follow it.
she hisses, kicking some dirt near Spike. Still no response.
Seriously, you'd be my friend.
Still nothing. The girl sighs, turns around and walks out of the room. She leaves the room, leaving Spike alone. Soon the entire house is empty, as Lisa and Donkey have also left it. A stair creaks. Spike looks around nervously. He's sitting in the dark on the stairs that are in the hall. There's a door to the left, and another door to the right. He could try and find a way out of this, or he could hiding. He looks behind him at the closed door, and then ahead, where the hallway continues. He could try to escape through the door at the end of the hall. If he's quick enough, he could get out of here and back to Ponyville. Or he could hide in the room to the left. There's a bed there, and some other furniture that looks like it came from Earth. Keep reading to find out the choice. Click here to continue reading Spike the Dragon Child, Chapter 2, Homecoming. There comes a rumbling coming from the base of the mountain where Gather G is located. Applejack knows that that's likely where Twilight is, the location that Shrek spirited Fluttershy away from. Wario claims that Fluttershy is the only one who can cure Spike of the Nightmare Presidency.
Well, it's a good thing she's headed for Ponyville.
Applejack mutters.
Lord knows what trouble a Nightmare President Spike could cause.
I'll go get her.
Rocco volunteers.
No, I'll do it.
Applejack says.
You stay here and finish gathering the rest of the heroes.
Shrek and Applejack both head off towards Ponyville. Soon, they're approaching the village. When they see it, Applejack feels an overwhelming sense of sorrow wash over her. The village is in ruins. Appaloochans lay dead all around. It feels just like the kingdom. Meanwhile, Shrek's mind wanders to his late wife. He smiles. In another scene, his expression darkens. He's recalling the time when she fell in love. Meanwhile, a shadowy, demonic force is at work in Ponyville. A dark aura lingers there, and it's slowly corrupting the very land. These nightmares will have to be stopped. Applejack is just about to head into Ponyville alone when she hears an ominous laugh.
It's Mother!
She yells, remembering the last time she heard this voice. She turns around and sees the Nightmare King and his horde.
I didn't think I'd come myself, but I see I was wrong.
He laughs.
You stay away from me.
Applejack says, readying her shotgun.
I can't do that. After all, I'm the one that's going to send you to the moon.
At this point, the Nightmare King produces a black orb from out of his pocket. The Nightmare King then throws the orb at Applejack, hitting her in the chest. She yells in pain and staggers back. The Nightmare King, with a malicious grin on his face, throws the orb again, hitting her in the head. She falls to the ground, dead. The orb vanishes, so have the creatures inside of it. The Nightmare King looks down at his new work.
And now with this, my next target will be Princess Fluttershy.
The Nightmare King's horde roars in celebration. He looks up at the sky and laments.
Why did the moon have to come out tonight?
Meanwhile, in Ponyville, Pinkie Pie has just finished leading a group of bandits and is ready to move on to her next target.
We took the old mare's sleep tonight.
She boasts.
Everyone got some money to spend.
Yeah, baby.
One of them responds.
Good.
She grins.
Tomorrow, it's the turn of some poor bastard in another town.
She leads the bandits out of Ponyville and towards their next target. They all share a collective mare's eye smile as they approach their next victim. In Ponyville's nearby forest, Applejack wakes up and starts making her way out of it. She spots a few bandits milling about, chatting. One of them notices her walking and yells,
Hey, there's the spoils of our haste.
They quickly point their weapons in her direction.
What are you going to do with us?
One of them calls out.
Kill you all for your insolence.
She calls back, then runs towards the group of them. They waste no time in opening fire on her. As she runs towards them, firing back with her revolver, she can just hear one of them yell,
Oh yeah.
Then, the Nightmare King appears, and she can hear several gunshots. The bandits are killed, and several of them fall back in terror. The Nightmare King walks up to the bandit who yelled that, and points his sword at him.
What was that?
The bandit gulps nervously.
I said you, sir.
It sounded like an agreement. An agreement that you want me to kill you.
The bandit begins to cry as the Nightmare King draws his sword back.
Please, sir, I want to join you. I want to be your bandit.
You are humoring me, sir. You want to kill you.
No, I really want to be with you.
The Nightmare King raises his sword again.
I'm waiting.
I want to join you and be your bandit.
The bandit begs. The Nightmare King brings his sword down, cutting the bandit's head in half. He tosses the sword aside and walks off. The bandit's head rolls past Applejack, who watches it with confusion spread across her face. Then, she picks it up and heads home. In another part of Ponyville, Fluttershy slowly awakens from her trance. She looks around, still a little disoriented. Then, she remembers. The Nightmare King taking control of her mind. He gave her a true purpose, and she didn't want to let go. He gave her the strength to slay dozens of ponies in one night, and the ruthlessness to kill the bandits who were in her way. But he also made her do horrible things. He made her kill every pony in the carriage collection. She shed not one single tear as their terrified screams died down. She's a killer now, and she feels nothing. Then she hears a growl. She looks up to see the Nightmare King striding towards her. A look of hatred and anger spread across his face. He holds up a man's severed head, dripping blood.
This is the work of my latest victim. This dandy was hoping to become a carpenter, and now he'll never fulfill his potential.
Why did you kill them?
Fluttershy asks fearfully.
Why did you make me kill them?
The Nightmare King grins, revealing a mouth filled with sharp teeth.
Because it amuses me the killing, the blood, the fear.
He spits out a tooth, blood flying.
These fools couldn't handle it.
I can't do this. I can't control myself.
He smiles.
Oh, I don't think that's true. I think you can do anything if you put your mind to it.
He walks towards her, strolling along like a lion approaching its prey.
But do you have the desires to be something greater?
What are you trying to say?
He opens a chest full of daggers and swords and draws one of them.
I'm trying to say that you are capable of so much more. Would you like to be a killer?
No.
She replies instantly, repulsed.
So certain, I thought so.
He stabs the sword into her, slicing open her stomach. She shrieks in pain, which only causes his grin to grow.
Scream like a girl.
Fluttershy hangs her head down in shame and pain, closing her eyes and trying to contain the bleeding.
Why are you doing this?
This is fun. I want to try something else. What would you do if you were in charge of this world?
She begins to say before groaning in pain.
I don't know.
He stabs her through the stomach again, through her backbone this time. Fluttershy screams and he grins.
This time you behave like a princess. What would a princess do?
I don't know.
He roars with laughter, twisting the sword in her body. Fluttershy cries out in pain before he stops.
Well, as you know, you won't be going anywhere now. As you know, you're dead.
He grins.
You did say with a smile that's something right.
She nods, panted. He walks over to the bandit who was holding the saw, still dripping blood. He slashes it open, revealing that the blade is sharp enough to split open a watermelon with.
Hey, why are you still alive?
The bandit painfully crawls over to him.
I was in the middle of finishing off the door when she took control. In my mind, she killed it. Everything.
The Nightmare King laughs.
Everyone, you lucky man, tell the others that the Disneyland chapter is dead. Now tell them they're still very, very angry.
The bandit nods before breaking into sobs. The Nightmare King turns to the tree.
Shame we can't make this dying tree into a nice hair for you, princess. Maybe next time.
He spits on it before turning to his horse.
Come on, boys, let's go. I want to find a new place to rest.
Fluttershy watches him leave, before collapsing onto the floor with a groan. The pain flowing through her is replaced by a feeling of emptiness. She grabs the sword, pulling herself up. The tree is dying. She tries to stay hopeful, but she knows it's futile. Still, she can't just accept it. She takes a deep breath before running over to the dying tree.
Come back.
She shouts. The Nightmare King turns around, grinning. She charges forward, stabbing the sword into his throat. He grunts as it hits bone, before grabbing her wrist and smashing her head into the tree with his free hand. Her skull crushes as her head smashes into the tree, and she feels a glancing blow to her spine. Blood spurts out from the broken skin, and she slumps down, her body shutting down. She's dying, but not yet dead. She's in the nightmare realm, and she's not dead. Something inside of her makes this happen. The survival instinct kicks in, and she struggles to move. She attempts to sit up, wincing at the pain. She looks down at her stomach. Seeing that it's been crushed, she groans in pain before looking up at the Nightmare King. He walks forward, grabbing her throat and lifting her up. He leans in, his breath chilling her as he speaks.
Do you have anything to say?
Blood pours down from her forehead as she opens her mouth to say something. Nothing comes out. She tries to scream, but only a hoarse whisper comes out.
You're not giving up that easily, are you? Are giving up that not giving up that easily? That
He laughs, tossing her aside. He stomps on her, crushing her skull before standing back up. He walks over to the dying tree. With one great sweep, he takes it down with her under it. It hits the ground with a crash, and he looks around.
No, we can't have that. The Nightmare King doesn't work that way.
He disappears into the darkness, leaving her alone. Days go by. Weeks. She feels as though it's been months, but she doesn't know for sure. She sees no sun, only endless darkness. Her stomach tells her it's been much longer. She has no sense of time in the nightmare realm. Dried blood cakes her hooves and coats her body. She's almost a skeleton. Her body hurts all the time. It aches with a throbbing pain, taking, even talking and laughing to her fullest capacity. She has nothing left. She's broken.
Fluttershy.
She looks up at the sound of her name being called. It's a boy wearing a red shirt. She knows that red. She knows that boy. He flies forward, grabbing her hoof.
Please, you have to help me. I've lost all my strength. I can't even move, please. You have to.
She looks into his shining eyes. They're full of pain and guilt. She remembers this boy. She remembers him from the human realm. He's from the Nightmare Man's realm. He's a ghoul. One of the Nightmare King's minions.
Where is the Nightmare King?
She asks.
Hey, you left without me. I'm so sorry, Fluttershy.
Then she sees a strange creature. He looks furious.
Fluttershy, I want you to promise me 3 things.
What?
If you're going to help me, don't tell any pony what you're doing. Don't tell any of the guards at the palace. Either second, stay strong. Whatever happens, don't let the Nightmare King break your will. Fight it with everything you've got it.
Who are you?
I'm your friend, your only true friend. My name is Discord.
I don't know you. Discord?
Sure you do. I helped turn your precious Mr. Sunshine into a horrible monster. I caused all of the trouble in the first place. Isn't that right, Flutters?
Fluttershy's eyes widen. She looks scared.
Finally!
He continues.
There's the matter of what you're planning to do with this Nightmare King. He's evil, you know that, right? He'll enslave you. He'll kill you. He'll torture you. Do you honestly want any part of that? I did think so.
Fluttershy remains silent.
I'm giving you a real choice here. Begging you. Giving you an out if there ever was one. You want to stay here in a non-extent world of nothingness, or you want to come back to the world you know. You can leave this all behind.
She looks into his eyes and she can't help but believe him.
Well, I guess there's always purgatory, then.
She says.
I don't have the power to send you to purgatory, not when I left shortly before you even arrived. But I'm no fool. I see the look in your eyes, you believe me, and that's good enough for me.
How do I know I can really trust you?
Do you really want to know how I can repay your trust?
Forking over her loyalty.
If you really trust me that much, then here.
He gives her a small white pill.
Take this. It'll make everything easier. I promise. Now I need you to do something for me.
What?
Swallow this, and when you do, you'll be with us. With the Nightmare Realm's royal family. There, we can truly get to know each other.
She swallows the pill.
Hope you're ready, because our relationship just got much closer.
His face turns into a horrible, twisted visage. Her body shakes, and she looks away.
I'm sorry.
Fluttershy cries, her tears flow, and her body collapses onto the ground. Discord catches her, holding her in his arms.
Don't cry. It's okay. Everything will be just fine. Just take your rest, little one.
Fluttershy spasms, then remains still. When she awakens, she is the Nightmare Princess. The pill must have had some sort of effect. The Nightmare King sits on a golden throne. He wears a black cloak and holds a longsword and a black orb. His eyes, there's no emotion in them. No love, no hate, nothing. It's as if they're blank.
Hello?
He says, extending a hand to her.
I'm the Nightmare King.
She looks around, noticing another black orb by his throne. She remembers what Discord told her. He has no true self. Everything he does for the sake of power.
So you must be the new girl I trust. You read the basic rules.
I don't think I need to. I'll be joining you soon.
Perhaps, but here's a basic rundown. Just tell you how I'm going to turn you into a real princess. You have the look of one. You'll wear a pretty dress. You look like the perfect lady. You'll so smile. You'll be subservient. Be sure that's what you've been told anyway, but in reality you'll be a coward. I'll keep you weak and afraid, so keep you under my control. I'll keep you alive. If you don't think you'll be able to follow those instructions, then don't even try.
I'll follow them.
Really, you're going to do this for me? You're going to do this for me?
Yes, I'm here because I want to help you.
Do you?
I don't think you realize how miserable your life is.
He looks down. He doesn't look impressed.
Perhaps, but then again, perhaps I don't realize how miserable my life is. Why so are you happy?
Because I'm going to make your life a lot easier. I'll do all the work, and you can just lay around and relax.
He smiles a bit. It seems he's starting to trust her.
See, you're going to try to lie to back and say thoughts you're lying to me.
No, I'm not.
Fluttershy pauses. His stare is unnerving her. She tries to lie again.
Is it true that you had your heart broken by a velvet-covered hammer?
She asks. His eyes widen.
How did you know?
I told you. I'm the mind reader, but don't worry, it's not my problem anymore.
No, it is my problem. It always will be.
Fluttershy looks down.
Shendumitafabich.
She mutters. Why can't she just shut the hell up and let her victims do the talking? She continues to listen intently.
You'll marry her,
the Nightmare King says.
Marry who?
My little velvet hammer. We're married. You'll live happily ever after. But first, you'll have to go through the process of taking her from me.
Me? Why?
Who's talking scaredy cat?
I'm not scared.
Fluttershy crosses her arm. She's probably one of the bravest ponies in her class. The Nightmare King laughs.
Yes, you are. You're hiding it well, but I can still see it. I know what your desires. You want to be with velvet-covered hammers. You want a happy ending. Now I'm going to give you that. You're going to have to marry my little hammer girl, or I'll tell you. You're doing.
Ha ha! I don't want to marry your little hammer. I've never even met her.
The Nightmare King's face turns into a twisted mass of emotions.
Julia!
I'm not lying. I've never met her.
Here!
The Nightmare King disappears, and Fluttershy hopes he's gone for good. Instead, she hears a voice.
Wow. Yes, that's it. You're stuck with me.
Fluttershy turns. Through the trees, she sees a tall, pale woman with jet black hair. The mysterious woman is ghostly beautiful.
Who are you? Why did the Nightmare King kidnap me?
Long story. Right now, we should get out of here. This forest is dangerous.
Wait, the Nightmare King just kidnapped me and demanded I marry you. What made you think I want to come with you?
The woman sighs.
Ugh! I'm not going to mince words. Want your help. The Nightmare King. I don't even like to call him that. He's not really a king. He's a force of nature. Something unnatural that has overrun this world. He kept having visions of you. Flutters. Wanted to control you. He controls all the creatures in his forest. When he realized he couldn't, he got bored and decided to mess with you. That's why you're here.
But I can't do anything.
Fluttershy complains.
I'm not a warrior or anything. I'm not strong enough. I'm not.
Paralytic furniture. Check. Choked to death a whole village full of animals. Check. Destroyed entire armies.
So what you're saying is I'm a coward.
So to speak.
Sounds like you.
The woman sighs.
Ugh! My name's Altina. And yet, Hamagal. Like, can only dead ghost. Didn't happen to meet my demise by a monster or something. Killed by a bullet. Shot by a hunter who found my body. My last words before he did it were, I'm not afraid of death. Anyway, was sent here to watch over your dreams. We've grown close over the past year. Knew it would be best to make you my constant companion. First, I thought you'd be a great help. Could make you attack or defend. And you have the will. But as you've shown, you're your own being. You've proven yourself to be more powerful than I ever gave you credit for.
So why send me help at all? It doesn't make sense. If you really wanted me to help, you could have just woken me up.
I did, and it didn't work. I tried talking to you, reasoning with you, even begging. But you weren't affected by my presence, much like the Nightmare King's spell is broken now that you're in his presence. We can only talk now thanks to your transformation.
I don't understand. What do you want from me exactly?
I want you to go to his castle and kill him. I was hoping you'd be able to do that. Anyway.
That's really hard to do.
Sure is. But if you can do it, then the Nightmare King will be free and this world will be saved from its unnatural king.
Fluttershy looks at Alcina. Alcina looks back.
Well, are you going to do it?
In that moment, she knows exactly what she has to do.
I will.
It had all happened so fast. Shrek had been thinking about his late wife. When the Nightmare King had arrived and stricken Applejack dead, she had disappeared then, along with the Nightmare King's forces. Left alone above a ruined Ponyville, the ogre decides to head into the forest to try and find Applejack. But, as he leaves, he sees something else. A portal opening up. He can see inside, and there's a young woman, lying down as it first appears. But she is different. Her hair is pure white, no gray. Her hair matches the purest snow. Her skin is an alluring violet. There is a smile on her face. There is something about her that calls to the ogre. Like, maybe she's his other half? You'd think she'd be dead, but she isn't. She doesn't seem to care about the planet around her, or even much about her surroundings. Just like him, she is beautiful. He isn't thinking rationally right now, but God, he'd kill to be with her. She turns towards him. He feels an unsettling numbness in his body, but not altogether unpleasant. He can't even move despite how much he wants to. She floats closer to him. Why doesn't she have a reflection?
Hello, Shrek.
There is a cold wind blowing. It blows her hair, but it isn't a wind. It is her hair.
Got a minute!
She tilts her head to the side.
I always have a magnet for my beloved.
She looks over at him, smiling. How can she smile? The planet is dying. Why doesn't she care? She tells him what happened to Applejack, how the Nightmare King stole her away from him. She tells him what the Nightmare King did, in vivid detail. Then, she tells him how she stole her back.
I thought you was going to kill me up here.
And all the pain you felt when you lost your wife.
You know.
My name is Amethyst. Little one, I know everything.
She nods slowly.
Does that include the Nightmare King killing me?
I don't know anything, except I wish I did.
She turns, walking into the portal. She's gone before he can get his bearings about this situation. The portal disappears, but he feels no sense of loss. He isn't sure how he should feel. The planet, it's dying. Why doesn't anyone care? He doesn't understand why she didn't care. She lost her home and her wife, and she doesn't give a shit? His home, his wife, they were ripped away from him in the blink of an eye, all in an instant. He doesn't understand her, him. His heart sinks. There must be something he can do. He hears a rustling in the woods that interrupts his thoughts. He raises an eye to the night sky, spotting several black shapes. They scatter as one. An oblong shape lands near him. It opens, and SpongeBob steps out.
Hey, neighbor!
The SpongeBob says.
What are you doing here?
Shrek asks.
I was out for a walk.
With these things?
Shrek asks, pointing at the dozen or so rats that surround SpongeBob. They're larger than usual. Not even the Nightmare King could control these things.
They're just rats. Can't you tell by how friendly they are? Can't you
They're not fucking friendly. They're monsters.
I'm telling you, they're rats. Not only do they lack the intelligence to understand what you did to us, but they're mostly just trying to survive under the role of the Nightmare King. You can't blame yourself for this.
I can. Because if I hadn't, I'd pissed off the Nightmare these things were neighbor.
SpongeBob sighs.
Look, what are you going to do live in this big castle surrounded by nothing but fields? You need to take the bad with the good, or you will go insane.
Why are you in here?
Amethyst told me you'd need my help.
Shrek raises an eyebrow.
She told you that.
SpongeBob nods, following Shrek's gaze to a burned patch of grass where Applejack had died.
I can't let it go on. These accidents need to stop.
What do you want me to do?
Help me burn this earth.
SpongeBob nods.
Let's do it.
SpongeBob holds out a hand. Shrek grabs it, and the two of them raise their other ones into the air. They fire lightning at the trees, and the grass, and the animals, and anything in their path. Everything is set alight, and within seconds, the fire has spread. The animals scamper out of the way, and the rats flee deeper into their burrows. Shrek and SpongeBob don't even notice. They're too caught up in burning the land. SpongeBob takes a deep breath, then lets it out slowly.
Ah, that feels good. I think this land needed clearing away.
Yeah.
Shrek stares at the burnt patch of earth, almost having a moment of silence.
Fuck it. We're not letting this piece of shit go to waste.
He turns, storming off to the castle. SpongeBob stares at the burning patch of ground, feeling nothing but joy for the first time in what feels like years.
I don't know why, but I feel really happy about this.
SpongeBob looks up at the sky, watching the sun slowly disappear.
It's not even dark yet.
He sighs, standing up.
All right, let's get home. I need sleep.
He tosses a flintlock into the tree and walks back home. As he approaches his house, he sees a strange figure standing outside.
What's that? Oh, it's just a familiar face.
The strange pony says. SpongeBob shrugs.
Are you one of the farmers I trade with? I get confused sometimes.
I'm the one who's confused here.
The strange pony says.
I think I died, but now I don't know where I am.
You're on the farm.
The pony shrugs.
I don't know. I just woke up in the middle of nowhere with no memory of how I got there. All I knew is I had to get home.
Well, you are home now. What's your name?
Applejack.
I'm SpongeBob.
Applejack plops down on the ground.
Thanks, friend. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Good night.
Good night.
SpongeBob heads inside and goes straight to bed. He closes his eyes and falls asleep. He sleeps for the entire night without waking up once. The next day, he wakes up, only to find that it's the same as any other. He gets up and goes about his day. He washes, eats, until one day changes his life forever. It's a normal summer afternoon, as usual. SpongeBob is washing the sleep off of him, as usual. He looks out the window, and he notices a strange black figure lurking outside. It's wearing a mask and a cloak, with billowing black hair. Even from inside, he can see that this figure is quite creepy.
SpongeBob?
Applejack is squaring off with the hooded figure outside.
Are you?
I'm your worst nightmare.
SpongeBob leaps out of his window.
Ah, you're the Shadow Weaver.
What do you want?
I just wanted to meet you. You and my idol.
The figure gives a creepy laugh.
Then I'll enjoy watching you die and dance at my leisure, mortal's currency.
Wait.
SpongeBob runs at her, but the figure conjures a force field to block him. He screams as it burns his flesh, turning it into ash.
You fools couldn't see you playing right into my hands.
The figure laughs. It points at Applejack.
Grab the apples. We're leaving.
Applejack nods and runs for the trees.
You stay away from them, or you'll call her to the Nightmare King.
SpongeBob roars.
Nice apple bugging.
The Shadow Weaver says, not taking her eyes off of Applejack.
But I am not the one you should be worrying about. You've anchored a force much more terrible than me, and much more powerful. You are going to become my prey.
You're not funny,
Applejack says. The Shadow Weaver lets out another laugh, one of pure, unadulterated evil.
I assure you, I very much am.
The hooded figure points at her head.
You consider yourself a god, but you are nothing compared to the Nightmare King.
A red, demonic face appears on her palms. She walks towards Applejack with her hands stretching out to grab her.
But now I shall feed.
SpongeBob watches in horror and springs into action. He tackles the masked figure and begins pummeling her to a pulp. The two roll around on the ground, punching and kicking each other.
And if I say,
The Shadow Weaver commands.
You are only making this easier for me.
She points at Applejack.
You grab the apples.
She nods and runs back towards the trees.
You call off your beast.
She commands, pointing at SpongeBob. SpongeBob stops.
My beast.
You have dragged him into this.
Shadow Weaver says.
If you truly care about him, you'll get him out of my realm.
SpongeBob nods and runs out towards the orchard. They're only about a mile away, but in this realm it feels like miles. He runs through the fields, passing the occasional scarecrow, up towards the orchard. He finds himself in a clearing, not too far away from the trees. He sees Applejack curled up in the grass, sleeping. She looks so peaceful. He walks towards her, unsure of how to wake her up. He nudges her in the side, gently shaking her.
Hey!
He says, shaking her again. She wakes with a start, instantly awake.
What the? Where are we?
She says, waking up.
You're back in the orchard.
Oh, okay.
She looks up at the trees.
What happened to the Nightmare King?
The orchard's safer than it used to be.
SpongeBob notices a figure standing by one of the trees.
Is that?
It's Shrek. He's changed a bit. His eyes are glossy and hazed, his mouth slack-jawed. SpongeBob wonders if this was the beast that Shadow Weaver had been speaking of.
Shrek!
Shrek looks at them. His eyes move slowly, staring at them both.
What? What happened to you? What puppety?
We fell asleep while playing Gerd.
Applejack explains.
We're back.
He says.
I took the kingdom for the Nightmare King.
He walks away from them, deeper into the forest.
Will he be okay?
I suppose.
They sit in silence for a while.
I have an idea.
SpongeBob says.
Why don't we launch a search and rescue mission for everyone? I mean, we're the only ones left. Mr. Krabs won't mind if we take a break from work, and it's still summer. We can do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Applejack says.
Come in.
SpongeBob is glad they agree. The next day, they set out on their search. They're plenty lucky. Mr. Krabs isn't around, as he went to work at his fancy restaurant. You might think that this is the end of the story, but that isn't the end. The end comes at the end. The beginning is the beginning of the end. End. Twilight returned to Nightfall after successfully leveling Gather G, the base of the Nightmare King. The Nightmare King had escaped though, and her boyfriend Mordecai and friends Angel, Dust, and Mike are waiting for her when she returns.
Twilight, welcome back.
Mordecai says as she enters the abandoned hotel.
Wait until you see what we've been up to.
Angel explains.
And you are suspended in the air.
Mike flies into the air as well, hovering a few inches off the floor.
Yeah, this place is perfect.
He beams.
And there's a basement full of weapons down here.
The friends enter the hotel, which has become their home, and descend down to the basement.
Mike, how long do you think this place will last?
Angel asks.
The city's gone to hell. We're running on bare essentials. And the power situation isn't the best.
I get it.
Mike says.
We're pretty isolated, and the best way to do that is by staying put.
It's a good location.
Mordecai points out.
Close to the city, but far enough to be safe. It'd take a lot to get it now. And if it did, it'd probably be more trouble than it's worth.
You know what else this place needs?
Continues Angel.
A big-ass hole in the ground to screw anything that moves.
What doesn't?
Chuckles Mike.
Damn right, brother.
Agrees Angel.
Hey, I've got an idea.
Cries Mordecai.
Why don't we all celebrate our great survival by getting instantly fucked drunk?
Yeah.
Agrees Mike.
That sounds like a plan.
I'm in.
Says Angel.
Love to.
Says Twilight. As they reach the basement, Twilight is surprised to see her friends Rainbow Dash and Rarity digging around. They pause as they see her.
Oh, hello there.
Says Rarity.
Perhaps you'd like a nice book to read. Perhaps.
She lightly flutters her eyelashes and gives a big grin.
Maybe later.
Twilight says.
What are you lot doing? We're looking for the elements of power.
Explains Dashy.
Oh.
Says Twilight.
Fluttershy,
Applejack and Pinkie Pie are all missing, but if we can find the elements of power, we can push back the Nightmare King.
Explains Rarity.
I thought Fluttershy and Applejack were dead.
Says Twilight.
Oh, no.
Says Dash.
They're alive and well. We just need to find them and the elements of power.
We're just here.
Says Rarity.
Help.
Okay.
Says Twilight.
Well, keep looking. I'm going to find the others.
Where's Pinkie?
Asks Angel.
She was working with some bandits, but the Nightmare King slaughtered them all. So, I sent her to gather more doppelgangers. She's really good at creating them, so she should be able to easily find some.
Do you think she'll be okay?
I'm sure she will.
Says Twilight.
And if not, well, we'll deal with it when it comes.
Let's go upstairs.
Says Mike.
I hear something weird in here.
They all go upstairs to the second floor where Mike heard the noises.
I think I found a hiding spot.
Says Mordecai as he disappears down a hallway.
Well, let's check it out.
Says Mike. The group follows him down the hallway and come to a door with a big hole in it. They all look through it and see a large room. There's a bunch of desks, each with a skull and crossbones hanging from a nail on the wall.
This is funny.
Says Mike.
Ain't that it funny?
Asks Bender. The group jumps in surprise when they see Bender sitting in a corner.
You guys scared me.
He says.
That really was pretty funny, the bed you did on the bridge.
Everyone all right?
Asks Twilight.
We're fine.
Says Mike.
Are you sure you should be here, Twi?
Asks Spike, stepping out from the shadows.
You're not really supposed to come to places like this by yourself.
I wasn't by myself.
Says Twilight.
I had help.
Twilight sees a shadow step out of the corner of her eye. She turns around to see a tall man with a goatee standing behind her. She holds her sword out, but the man puts his hands up.
No need for that, dear.
He says.
I was merely going to tell you that you shouldn't be down here.
Then why didn't you?
Asks Twilight.
My name is Shaggy, and this is the Nightmare Realm.
What?
They said this is the Nightmare Realm. The Nightmare King imprisoned you guys in his body, and he makes this place his home.
Explains Shaggy.
Well, why would he do that?
Asks Spike.
Were you guys enemies?
We did battle, but he escaped.
Twilight says thoughtfully.
I suppose he thought you'd make good use of the place. The king is a very pragmatic creature.
How do you know all this?
Asks Spike.
The Nightmare King has a habit of imprisoning folks for reasons and then keeping me updated on those who break out.
Says Shaggy.
Why didn't you help us?
Asks Spike.
I would have had the king not forbidden it.
Says Shaggy.
Now I suggest you get out of here before the king catches you all and punishes you more than he already has.
Why should I trust you?
Asks Spike.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Says Shaggy.
But I trust the Nightmare King sufficient to not kill you all for this.
Fine.
Says Spike.
I'll trust your word for now, but I'm confiscating this dagger.
Go ahead.
Says Shaggy, handing his dagger to Spike.
Spike, what happened to you?
Mordecai asks.
The code man, who then forced me to play a song on my banjo. That was the first time I'd ever played in front of anyone, and I got scared. The Goldman made me play it again and again and again. I passed out.
That's awful.
Says Angel.
Why would someone do that to you?
I don't know. Can we please get out of here?
Says Mike.
I will take you out.
Says Shaggy.
But we have to go through the secret passage in the bathroom.
Okay, let's go.
Says Spike eagerly. Shaggy leads him through the bathroom and into a passageway, and then out into the woods. The sun is setting, and it's a beautiful sight.
There are ruins over that way where the king lives. Be careful, it's nearly dark.
Thanks for the warning.
Says Mike.
See you later, I guess.
The group nod and go their separate ways. Base of the king's statue. Spike runs up to the Nightmare King's giant statue and runs up it. He stands on the top of the head and stares down at the group.
All right, you guys ready?
He asks.
Ready as we'll ever be.
Says Twilight.
Let's do it.
Says Mordecai. Spike plays the opening notes of In the Hall of the Mists, and the group joins in harmony. The hum of the machine oiled for battle reverberates throughout the wood. A black, hooded figure in the distance raises their gloved hands in response. A ring of violet light appears around the Nightmare King, and he walks forward in a pair of boots made of bone.
It had been a nice concert.
He says.
I believe I had a reservation at a restaurant a few miles from here.
Spike stops playing and looks at the Nightmare King with a nervous expression.
You're not going, are you?
I would never hurt a fellow musician.
He says.
Besides, you're Fluttershy's friends, aren't you?
Spike nods quickly.
She is a very musical friend,
says the Nightmare King, remembering her screams.
But very trusting. That's why I like her.
He stomps his foot and the ground begins to rumble and crack. The earth opens up, revealing a large, man-made hole.
For you,
he says. The group steps forward, down the stairs and into the hole. It's dark, but Twilight can see that they're underground now. The Nightmare King follows. She can hear the Nightmare King walking around and opening up drawers before she's able to make out the rest of the group.
Spike,
She asks.
what's going on?
We're trapped,
He says.
but we're fine.
How can you be sure?
He says.
I don't know. I'm just feeling a little lightheaded, that's all.
Me too.
Says Mikey. Twilight understands fear. That's what makes her different than your average monster. But she's sensing something different from the group. Nausea, terror, paralysis. The group as a whole is experiencing all these things and more. The thoughts are all jumbled up and incoherent, like they're in a brain malfunction.
I can't do this.
I'm scared. This isn't what it looks like.
We're not monsters.
Are we?
The Nightmare King steps out of the shadows and smiles at the group.
What happened?
He asks.
Were you upset to see me? Should it be you all my friends?
He walks up to each one of them and speaks to them in turn. After he's finished, he smiles.
Now, doesn't that feel better?
Yes!
Manages Spike.
But we're still scared.
Should be.
He turns to face them, taking his hood off. They're too scared to do anything except scream desperately.
My name is the Nightmare King,
He says.
and I'm here to help you all.
His face changes. His teeth become huge, bloodthirsty fangs, and his eyes turn completely red. And a skeleton comes out from behind him.
I look who it is.
He says.
I'm back.
You are a monster.
Shrieks Spike.
You are a monster?
I am indeed.
He says.
Well, don't worry, I'm on your side.
You're not helping. You're a monster?
The Nightmare King sighs and closes his eyes.
Spike, dear Spike.
He says.
I'm going to help you get out of here, but I need you to listen to me. This very scared little boy who's lost his way. You don't want to be here. This isn't you. You're too little dragon with a home and faraway force. Don't let these take you away from them. They aren't your friends. They wandered too far from the path.
I'm scared.
Says Spike, still looking terrified.
I know you are.
The Nightmare King smiles.
You're going to be even more scared soon, however.
He adds, smiling.
I'm going to make it all right. In the end, you'll be glad you stopped being afraid.
The Nightmare King walks away from Spike and towards the others.
Now,
He says.
I'm going to help these six they real scared, whose little souls who strayed from the path. I'm going to lead them back to the monastery where they'll be safe. Before I die, I need one more soul who will be strong enough to lead these others back to the path. That person will have power. They'll be able to lead others. They'll be important. But
He adds with a grin.
they'll never be free of their own fear.
He stops, looking at each of them in turn.
Who will it be? Who will have the strength to lead these lost souls back to the path? Who will have the power?
The room is deathly silent as each of them looks away. Then, from the back, Angel Dust raises his hand.
I will have the power.
He says.
Thank you.
Then you're asleep now? Oh, you've been through a lot.
The group closes their eyes. Soon, they're all asleep. The Nightmare King approaches Spike, who's still too scared to sleep.
Come with me, little one. I'll take care of you now.
Spike nods, and they head to the exit. As they reach it, however, Spike finds himself facing a dozen Nightmare Knights, all perfectly still and silent.
You're coming with me?
He asks.
We're going to the monastery.
You and the others.
Confirms the Nightmare King.
Come on, let's go.
Spike followed the Nightmare King up into his throne room, with the King's skeleton following him close behind. The room was expansive and full of the Nightmare Knight's subjects, people he'd converted.
What is the place?
Spike asked.
The kingdom of the dead.
The Nightmare King said.
What?
It used to be a monastery of some sort, but it belongs to me now.
Why did you bring me here?
To show you what you could have instead.
The Nightmare King held up the elements of power.
I could offer you these powers so great. You'll be able to conquer the world with the shake of your little sword. You could have magical powers beyond imagination. Immortality and boundless energy to live forever, Spock. Why not take the easy route? Does it get any better than this?
I want to rule the world.
Then what would you do with the power?
Spike felt nothing but disgust for the Nightmare King at this moment.
I'd use it to destroy you.
Spike said, spitting out the words with malice. The Nightmare King laughed.
So be it.
The King said.
To Spike.
What?
Spike said, preparing for battle once more. Several Nightmare Knights approached the little dragon, when suddenly a voice rang out in the hall.
I know you're out there, in the shadow. Come on out, so I can send you back to where you came from.
The Nightmare King turned, walking along the halls towards the speaker.
Fluttershy,
he said. Spike looked at the other Nightmare Knights.
I guess this is your chance to escape,
Spike said, preparing to follow the Nightmare King. Before the other Nightmare Knights could respond, there was a flurry of activity as several small birds appeared, flying down from the rafters. The Nightmare Knights recoiled in horror as they saw the birds, and attempted to run away.
They can hurt me,
one of the birds said, before casting a spell that caused all the Nightmare Knights to become incapable of movement.
Bird brains can't even fly.
The blue bird called down.
You're sending your troops at a powerless enemy?
The Nightmare King said, looking up at the birds.
Just one thing, work together, you're bound to fail.
The birds all bristled at this, before the Nightmare King continued.
You do well remember that.
The birds all cast some sort of beam of light at the Nightmare Knights. The beam easily ran along the floors and walls, and when it hit the Nightmare Knights, they disappeared in a puff of smoke.
You're not very good at all,
the bird said.
You are not very smart either. If you didn't notice, still free,
Spike said.
What are you going to do, little dragon?
The Nightmare King asked.
You're a single target that's visible from space. I could kill you right now.
You could try.
Try what?
Spike exhaled before charging up his little sword with red energy.
Eat this,
he said, firing the beam straight at the Nightmare King. He easily blocked the beam with his left hand before charging up his right hand as well.
It can hurt me,
he said.
But it can't,
cried Fluttershy as she burst into the room with a gust of wind. She hit the Nightmare King with a shock of lightning, but he barely glanced at her with a nod.
You're going to have to do better than that little one,
he said.
But first, I think you should have a chat with your buddy, Shrek.
The Nightmare King snapped his fingers, and from the shadows stepped a large ogre. His eyes were glazed over, and Fluttershy gasped when she realized he'd been charmed by the Nightmare King.
Shrek, what are you doing here?
She asked.
No!
Shrek said.
Then you'll accept my help for this task, correct?
The Nightmare King asked.
I guess so.
Good, now prepare to die.
The Nightmare King raised his hand, and Spike prepared to fire once more.
No, Spike, wait.
Fluttershy said.
Can't you talk to him or something? He could be alright if you smooth things over.
He'd still be under a charm, and he'd still have to do what the king wants. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is.
Fine then,
she cried.
I'll go talk to him.
Fluttershy turned and hurried away towards Shrek, who shook his head.
What's she doing?
The Nightmare King asked.
Making the most of her resources.
The Nightmare King frowned before raising his hand.
I could easily kill you as your turn to leave, but I'll make this symbol come out here.
Twilight popped out of the shadows, her eyes looking straight ahead.
You can't threaten me like that. You don't know me,
she said.
I know you better than you know yourself, to think of it. I always knew better than you wanted anyone to know. You were a follower and always were even an inquisitor under the alias of Nightmare Bone. You were still following the path I forged you in your first years.
That's not true. I broke free of you.
So much pretense being a follower, trying to make herself feel better. I've seen it time and time again, and it's always the same. You desperately want to be free of the shadow you see yourself as being, but you can't. You'll never be able to. That is your weakness, and that is your power, and it's a power I can easily take advantage of. Bring out the creatures you abducted, and you can have your revenge. I'll give you one chance. The shadows that were entrapped will be set free, and you can tag me and your companions as we leave, but anything less than that, and you'll never see your friends again. Understood? Come out now and face me as an equal.
Yeah, I understand.
Twilight said, a bit of fear in her voice.
Just let my friends go and I'll come out. But don't try anything funny.
The Nightmare King cackled before raising a hand.
Bring out the beast, let none escape. Perfect example of the failed attempt. It's opposite. Then the princess will come out and her friends will join her as well. After that, the real fun can begin. The castle's playing pugs landed tonight. I say we go and join them.
The Nightmare King began to float off the ground, cackling.
Come on, Spiky, let's go and take the stage.
Spike followed after him, shaking his head slowly.
He's too powerful,
he said.
Yeah,
Twilight said, taking a deep breath.
We've done what we came to do, but I guess we're still on the Nightmare King side.
You happy yourself,
Spike said. The blue bird landed on Twilight's shoulder and began whispering in her ear.
What?
She asked.
Can you communicate without speaking?
The bird twitched its head and rolled its eyes.
You're a lot more idiotic than I thought you were.
Twilight frowned before grabbing a black bow from one of the carts.
Why don't you just speak for yourself?
She asked, aiming an arrow at Shrek.
I just did,
the bird said. The bird flapped its wings, and a glowing sword appeared in its mouth, which it brandished.
What the? Is that a sword?
Spike asked.
It's a flaming sword,
the bird said.
It's one of the many weapons I've stolen from this world.
While this was going on, Fluttershy attempted to use her ghost companion to break Shrek's charm.
Invisible, unglowing,
she cried.
Unclean spirits are not amused by your pranks. You will pay for them.
Shrek winced.
Stop. Bitches.
Shrek stepped back, and the spell was broken.
Thanks,
he said to Fluttershy.
You're welcome.
Fluttershy looked around.
So, What do we do now?
There was a brief silence.
Leon,
Suggested the bird.
we could try fighting?
Said Spike.
I dunno.
Said Twilight. Just as they were about to run, a bright light appeared in the distance. It drew nearer until it became clear what it was.
A ship?
Cried Spike. It looked like a large barrier of water, whipped into place and hovering through the air. It hovered outside the cave before pausing. Then it lowered a ladder, which lowered down to the ground.
Oh, Maddie's!
Cried SpongeBob as he descended down the ladder. Falling behind him were Applejack and Pinkie Pie.
What took you guys so long?
Asked Twilight.
We ran into some ponies who wanted to help us,
Applejack explained.
but they turned out to be unfriendly.
Pinkie Pie frowned.
I thought you said they were nice.
They were at first,
Said Applejack.
but they kept asking me about the elements of destiny. What?
Demanded Spike.
Why? I don't know. They wouldn't say why. Only that it was important that they helped you guys.
An awkward silence fell over the group.
Well, we can't stay here.
Said Twilight.
The Nightmare King will find us again. We gotta find somewhere safe to go.
The Nightmare King will hunt you down.
Protested Fluttershy.
You can't run away from your problems. You have to face them head on like I did.
I think we need to find someplace else to go.
Said Spike.
Some sort of community.
No, it's time we stood our ground and fought.
Said Mordecai, coming up the stairs. Twilight's other friends were following him.
We can run away. We have to at least attempt to fight, even if we don't have a chance.
We can try.
Said Spike quietly.
So, what are you guys doing here exactly?
Asked Pinkie Pie.
Did the Nightmare King send you on a personal mission to hunt us down?
He gave me direct orders to hunt you down.
Said Spike.
He wants you 6 dead.
Wait a minute, Spike.
Said Fluttershy.
Why would the Nightmare King want us dead? There's no real reason other than he hates us. Perhaps he's insecure about losing his status as our enemy and wants to take it back by killing us.
Fools!
The Nightmare King interjected.
I don't want to just take back what I lost. I want to take everything. I want the elements of destiny. I want that miserable life you lead. I want your friends. I want your lives, everything.
He took a deep breath before continuing.
I want what you have, not what you're born to lead. You think you can be better than me. You think you deserve better than me. See you try.
The Nightmare King raised a clawed hand and slashed it across the table, cutting deep gouges into its surface.
I didn't earn my place. I did build this kingdom. I'm not the rightful successor of the throne. I'm not the Nightmare King, and you know you're not him either, but you're trying. Respect that. And that is something the Nightmare King respects in you.
He paused before shrugging his shoulders.
I'll give you one last chance to prove to me that you're not it. Well, last chance to earn your way out of this grave and into life. I know. It's a lot to ask, but your Equestrian's only chance, and you handle the burden. Won't be easy.
After a pause, Spike nodded.
I can handle the burden.
Perfect.
Cried the Nightmare King.
You're hard now. I'll give you a few minutes to collect your things. When you're finished, meet me in the throne room. You'll find me there right now. Be there by midnight if you're not. You'll join your friends in this grave now. I have duties to attend to. If you're your friends in this grave, friends in grave.
He turned and marched out of the room. The collected group all looked at each other.
So, what do we do?
Asked Rainbow Dash.
I guess we escaped.
Said Angel Dust.
Yeah, or we die trying.
Added Applejack.
We don't have much choice but to try to escape.
Said Fluttershy.
I can't celebrate my graduation when I know several of my friends are dead.
Don't worry, Fluttershy. We'll make sure you graduate.
Said Spike.
Excuse me.
Replied Fluttershy.
I'll be your stunt pony.
Said Spike.
I'll help you escape.
Fluttershy's jaw dropped open.
You would really do that?
I'll do more than that.
He nodded.
I'll make sure you graduate. I'll make sure you leave here. I'll make sure you're safe.
Fluttershy began to cry again as Spike wrapped an arm around her.
That's really sweet of you, but how?
She asked.
What can one little dragon do?
Spike's eyes lit up.
Don't worry about it. I'll think of something.
With that, Spike was dismissed. The Nightmare King sat on his throne, waiting patiently as Spike walked into the massive room. The throne was made of human skulls, and had its own version of Spike's design for a face on the front.
Rise!
The Nightmare King said, his voice booming.
Your Highness!
Please call me Hugh, and simply refer to me as Hugh. It's quite boring, but preferable to the other title I've been called, Scream.
Are you familiar with the man you came here to see me about?
Yeah, I have a general idea of what he's about.
Hugh told Spike.
I've been in contact with him in the past.
Spike responded.
So do I.
I assume you, I summon you.
The Nightmare King said.
I want you to persuade this man to give up his quest, or at least delay it for a while.
I need him to give up the quest.
Spike said.
Or at the very least, make it unnecessary.
I see.
The Nightmare King said.
Well, you'll need to think up a good argument then.
I can do that.
Spike said.
So can he.
Oh, you've done this before.
A long time ago.
Spike said.
It involved a princess. I can't remember which one.
Do you remember what the argument was?
It was over a girl, and we were told to convince her that she wasn't in love with someone else's boyfriend.
Spike said.
I was also given an amulet.
Give it here then.
Spike handed the amulet to the Nightmare King, who held it in his hand.
I don't remember this one having a power such as this.
It doesn't.
Spike said.
And it functions in the same way as the one you gave the first Nightmare Man.
Yes, it does.
Spike said.
Yes, I do remember that one. It was rather amusing when that happened to it.
It did?
Spike asked, surprised that his amulet caused such a thing.
He was screaming for his mother, and then he got in his head that his dog was laughing at him.
The Nightmare King explained.
It made for an entertaining 3 days.
Yes, I suppose it was.
Spike said.
I think it will. Good luck, Spike.
Spike nodded and turned to leave the room before he felt something on his back. He looked up to find that the Nightmare King had grabbed him and put the amulet on him.
Put out your hand,
the Nightmare King commanded. Spike responded, confused.
Put your hand out, and I'll put this on. It's rather simple.
Spike did as he was told and lifted his hand up. The Nightmare King grabbed it and slammed it onto the amulet, which stuck to his skin and body like a second skin.
You'll be able to get around the castle rather easy. Just go through the doors you pass, and you'll be there. Have fun, Spike.
Okay.
Spike said, slightly confused.
Thanks.
Spike turned and walked out of the room. He soon found himself in a long hallway with walls covered in paintings. He looked at one and saw a group of people having fun. He looked at another and saw a man in a robe reading a book. Another showed a winged unicorn flying over a crumbling castle. Yet another showed a large, monstrous spider spinning a web in an attempt to catch an insect.
What do these all depict?
Spike asked in a somewhat bored tone of voice. And then the paintings began to move. They started crawling out of the walls and flying at him. He flinched back in surprise, dropping the painting behind him and falling back on the floor. The wall hit him in the head, and he fell backwards too, knocking his head against the stone floor and losing consciousness.
You took it a bit easy on him, didn't you?
A voice said. Spike turned around to see the red-cloaked figure standing in front of him. It was a tall, dark-haired woman with an intimidating mask.
You're the Nightmare President.
She said flatly.
You're the Shadow Weaver.
Spike responded, standing up.
In the flesh.
She said, twirling the wooden dagger at her side.
You feel that.
Feels like my head's about to explode.
Spike said.
I'm sure you feel the same way I do.
Something like that.
Shadow Weaver said.
What do you propose we do about it?
No!
Spike said, frustrated.
What can we do? We're playing with a broken board.
Giving up so easily. And after I work with Amethyst to bring all of your little friends together.
Shadow Weaver said sardonically.
You're no leader.
Spike responded.
You're just a violent criminal who took advantage of the chance caused by the nightmares.
Is that a threat, you little prick?
Watch your tone.
Spike said sternly.
You're not in the best position right now yourself. Even defeated, you're still a dangerous enemy.
I'll have you know I am still perfectly capable of fighting.
Shadow Weaver snarled.
Sure you are.
Spike said dismissively.
Look, we don't want to fight you. We can't do much about it anyway. If you're well enough to fight, you're well enough to kill us.
So be it.
Shadow Weaver said.
I accept your terms. I'll leave you be.
Spike responded.
What's the point of this?
He asked, pointing to the painting of the painting.
Why is it attacking us?
It is a window to my soul.
Shadow Weaver said.
I needed to get that out of the way.
A soul? As in, your soul is in there.
As in, my soul is in there.
Shadow Weaver said, rolling her eyes.
You are a little out of your mind if you think I'm going to just stand here and let you kill yourself.
Spike said.
I don't care how much of a hopeless cause you think you are.
I don't think I have a hope in hell.
Shadow Weaver said.
But it's the Nightmare King I want to kill, not myself. Now, you will help me, or I'll kill you. Pick one.
Spike gulped, staring at the knife.
Help, yeah.
He said. They're good choices.
Shadow Weaver said.
You won't regret it.
Shadow Weaver slowly walked forward, staring at Spike. He quickly looked away as she lifted his face with the knife.
You should know, though, that if you help me, I will be helping you. I will not kill you. You have my word, Eternal.
Help you kill me? I don't think so.
Spike snarled.
You said it yourself. You're a powerful enemy. I doubt you lost your strength on a mere dragon.
You're smart to be wary,
Shadow Weaver said, releasing Spike's face.
But I'm telling you now, I will not attack you. Do not make me regret this promise.
She quickly strolled out of the room, leaving Spike alone. He was confused as all hell, but he felt like if he didn't help her, she might attack him. Shaking his head, Spike walked down the hall and back to the courtyard where his friends were waiting for him. He told them what happened, and that he was going to help the Shadow Weaver kill the Nightmare King. They all looked scared.
What if I don't want to help her?
Fluttershy asked.
Your choice.
The Nightmare King said from behind Spike.
Although I find it amusing that you've been left in a position where you don't want to help a fellow putty. You feel as if you have no choice.
Spike quickly turned to find the Nightmare King standing behind him, a black, clawed hand placed against his chest.
Don't worry, little dragon. I'll make it quick.
Spike struggled, but the Nightmare King was obviously much stronger than he looked. Spike passed out before he could even call for help.
Spike?
Twilight yelled.
What's going on?
Back off, unicorn.
The Nightmare King commanded.
This is between me and the dragon.
Twilight gulped but obeyed. She and the rest of the E-supervillains backed off and watched as the Nightmare King approached Spike. He removed his clawed hand from Spike's chest, and Spike stirred, but didn't wake up.
I'm going to enjoy this,
the Nightmare King said. Spike's eyes fluttered open, and he let out a terrified scream.
No, please.
Spike begged.
You have my help. Good Lord, and even of my help. Have mercy on me and let me off this dying body before I embrace the eternal slumber.
The Nightmare King burst with laughter and placed his other hand on Spike's head.
Maybe I'll have.
He laughed.
Maybe I will.
Before he could follow through with his threat, the Nightmare King was knocked away by a black and red blur. He fell to the ground, stunned, as Shadow the Hedgehog landed between him and Spike. Clinging to his neck was Ginny Wakeman. The Nightmare King cried.
You killed my friends.
She screamed.
You'll never take me alive. You'll never get those elements of power.
Spike stumbled away from him, looking terrified. The Nightmare King grabbed Ginny's throat and lifted her into the air. His claws, sharp and long, were only a few inches from her face.
Let her go.
Shadow growled.
Never!
He roared in reply, and threw her against the wall. Ginny slid down the wall, and the Nightmare King turned to Spike.
I'll help you,
Spike said, grabbing a fire axe from a bundle of wood on one of the carts.
Good.
Shadow replied.
Let's get the hell out of here.
They walked to the fortress wall, where Spike stopped. He kneeled down and rested the axe against the ground.
This is where I lost my brother. He fell to the Nightmare King.
Yeah, I know the story.
Shadow said.
You do?
Spike asked, surprised.
And you're actually listening. You haven't abandoned me as a friend for the sake of revenge.
If I was going to do that, I'd have left long ago.
Huh. I see.
Shadow looked away from him and stared out towards the Nightmare King.
This has to be our last stand.
Shrek said, and the other E-supervillains agreed.
But this doesn't work. There's no way in hell your horn is going to get that book before the Nightmare King does.
Shouldn't we be doing something to help Spike?
Rainbow asked.
Like what? He'd die for sure if we got involved.
What?
The Nightmare King shouted.
Are you so seriously thinking about not giving me the book? Do you not find my heroic efforts to save your miserable lives to be worthy? Do you find me to be some kind of monster?
No.
If not, you would be here. Come on, give me the book.
Fuck the book.
SpongeBob said.
We need to help Spike.
Yeah, let's go, guys.
Mordecai added.
Fine, you want to get involved. I'll make you a deal. Then I'll give you the book. You don't. You'll kill this dragon.
What?
You heard me, man?
That's not a good deal.
Shadow said.
It's the best I can do.
The Nightmare King said, his eyes burning with an unholy glow.
We don't have time to dick around.
Spike said.
Let's go.
The group backed away from the Nightmare King, who cursed them under his breath. In the back of Fluttershy's mind, she heard a familiar voice whisper to her.
Go. Tershi. Just go.
With that, all of the voices of her friends ceased. She could clearly hear Alcina's voice now, though.
Now, you want to get that book. I can help you with that. It would be to your benefit. Yes?
Fluttershy couldn't move. She looked at all of her friends, who gave her encouraging looks.
Well, don't just stare at it. We're going to die here anyway. Let's get it over with.
Twilight shouted.
Please, just to give me the book. I don't want to have to kill any of you.
I can't do that.
She said.
Not this time.
It's not my will. I wish to die honorably, rather than betray the trust of my friends.
Fine, if you're stupid dead. Let's just go.
No, we're going to do this the fair and square way. I want a duel.
What?
I want a sword fight. You pick the place and time, and we'll have a duel to settle this fairly.
But?
No buts. You picked us up off the forest floor and into the sky. You've seen me use my abilities to save every pony else. It's only right that I repay the favor.
Well, I suppose that's all right. We don't have much time.
The Nightmare King said as he stepped forward and raised his hand.
Fine, you want a sword fight? Fine, I'll give you one, Albie.
Before the Nightmare King could complete his sentence, a long, lacerating cut appeared across his midsection, and he collapsed to the ground. The Nightmare King desperately grabbed at his wounded area, growling in anger.
It's not fair, I'm the Nightmare King.
Sorry.
Spike said as he raised his sword up. Spike didn't really want to hurt the Nightmare King, but the other alternative was just too terrifying. He didn't know why, but he was sure that Fluttershy knew.
Wait, Spike, don't...
Fluttershy shouted as she ran into the battle. She wasn't really supposed to be there, and Spike had no idea why she was, but he couldn't bear to look as she cut the Nightmare King down.
No, Fluttershy. No.
Spike shouted as he charged into the battle. He had no idea what exactly he'd do in the heat of battle, but he had to do something. A large, shadowy claw grabbed him, and he found himself staring down at the Nightmare King.
We'll do this the easy way. Here, give us the babies.
What?
Spike asked.
Give us the babies, or I kill your friend there.
What do you want with my friends?
Spike asked, struggling to get out of the Nightmare King's grasp.
I want them to be my slaves. Potty seem to think they're immortal. They're not. If you leave them up, we'll make it quick.
Spike knew that the Nightmare King was referring to his dragon babies. As far as he knew, they were still in their dragon forms. If he gave up his babies, it would be like giving hostages.
The Nightmare King, huh? You think you're really smart, don't you?
Spike asked.
I am.
Yeah, well, you weren't smart enough.
Spike charged at the Nightmare King, knocking him down. The Nightmare King struggled under Spike, but he was ultimately unsuccessful.
Now, you will pay for taking my friends from me,
Spike said, kicking the Nightmare King in the face. The Nightmare King gargled for a moment before spitting blood at Spike. Spike recoiled for a moment before charging at the Nightmare King once more. The Nightmare King grabbed Spike by the neck, struggling to get back up.
Break!
He shouted. In that moment, the Nightmare King's top half fell down, revealing a metal structure around his chest. He resembled a medieval cage with a huge metal ball in the center. He was trapped by himself.
Let him go.
Spike turned to see Fluttershy standing there. She had used her magic to free the Nightmare King.
Fine, and your stupid trial.
The Nightmare King grunted. With that, the Nightmare King let Spike go and collapsed. Spike immediately ran to Fluttershy's side.
Are you okay?
He asked.
Yeah, I'm fine. You don't need to worry about me.
She said.
The Nightmare King can hurt anyone anymore.
Are you sure? You look fine.
Spike said.
I'm fine. Thank you.
She said, a faint blush coming to her cheek. Spike looked away, embarrassed. He helped Fluttershy pick up the Nightmare King's sword and placed it in her bag. Then he stood by her as she stashed the Nightmare King's body in a nearby treetop.
So, what's next?
Spike asked.
You all head back to Nightfall.
Fluttershy said.
Have to stay here.
You sure, Flutters?
I'll be fine. Go on home.
Spike looked a little worried, but he nodded.
All right. I'll see you later, Fluttershy.
Okay.
Spike turned, trotting off to his village. Fluttershy said farewell to the rest of her friends as they all headed their separate ways, leaving the monastery empty. Fluttershy closed her eyes and asked Alcina if they'd done the right thing.
I think so.
She said.
I don't think we could have let him go on forever. That darkness had to come to an end.
Yes, I suppose you're right.
I know I'm right.
Fluttershy smiled, and Alcina's ghost hugged her tightly.
I'm so proud of you.
She whispered into her ear.
You did the right.
As she trotted across the empty room, Fluttershy finally felt as if her life as a Pegasus priestess was at an end. That was when she happened to notice a dark figure lurking in the shadows.
Hello,
Shadow Weaver said as Fluttershy slowly turned around.
You?
She shouted.
I didn't forget about you.
Of course you didn't.
She said.
You've been a very busy girl these past few years.
What do you want?
I want to help you, of course. There's a great deal at stake here.
I've heard that line before. What do you really want?
Shadow Weaver walked forward, stopping a few feet away from Fluttershy.
I want to help you defeat your enemy.
She said.
I want to help you assume the role of the Nightmare Queen.
What?
I know you're planning to kill the Nightmare King and take his place.
She said.
You wouldn't be here in person if you weren't planning something like that.
The Nightmare King is gone.
Fluttershy sighed.
I'm sure you saw. His puppet body is in that tree over there.
I'm not stupid, Flutters. I know what really happened. You freed the Nightmare King, didn't you?
Yes.
She said.
He sacrificed himself to save Ponyville to free me.
I see. And you believe that this... What's your name?
Athena.
The ghostly figure said.
You believe she has spoken the truth about him?
Yes.
My advice to you, little one, is not to trust her.
Fluttershy raised an eyebrow as Shadow Weaver turned to face the ghost.
I want you to go back to your grave.
What?
I want you to go back to your grave.
She repeated, as if speaking to a child.
You are not of much use to her, and it's best you not get in the way of things.
But why would you want me to leave?
Because I've been chosen to guide her, little one.
Shadow Weaver said.
And it is my job to keep her from making any grave mistakes.
Like what? We're ghosts. We don't get buried.
True is, but there are other lessons to be learned. You are not of this world. You do not understand it, nor the powerful spirits that can live here. Let the adults handle the rest of her training. Let's go.
Shadow Weaver turned and walked out the door. She stopped, turning around.
What's the matter, Princess Fluttershy?
I want to keep Alcina with me.
She said.
I won't go without her.
Well, you don't have a choice.
Shadow Weaver said.
Yes, I do.
She said as a smile formed on her face.
Fine, bring the ghost.
Shadow Weaver sighed.
It's not like I wanted her anyway.
Fluttershy smirked and walked towards the Nightmare King's throne. She sat down, feeling the power of the Nightmare Realm flow through her. She knew she could take on the world. She just needed a little more time to prepare, and that was all.
The Nightmare King will fall soon.
She whispered to herself.
So I'll rule this realm.